Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in here to Murder Church. Appreciate everyone for being here early, bright and early, getting ready for some bells. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Hope everyone hung out for Feral Friday, which was an unbelievable birthday celebration. The majority of it took place over on Kick. If you're not following on Kick, please make sure you're doing so, because this weekend you're going to want to be hanging out for the movie marathon. Thank you everyone for coming in here. Appreciate it. Welcome in, welcome in. Ready to start her up. Get ready. Strap them seatbelts in tight. Week 21. Jeffrey Dahmer's insanity trial. Murder Church. Let's go. Hello, Murder Church, baby.
All right. Let's rock.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't even have my glasses on this morning. What is happening? Welcome to Murder Church. Let me get these things on. Boom. Welcome. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. Yeah, out the gate, Sunday morning. We are here for a little Murder Church. Everyone, get in your seats, get in your pews, get in your pews. Everyone already hanging out. Thank you all very much. Appreciate the hell out of it. We make sure the mic is working. It is working just fine. Hells yeah. Hells yeah. Yeah, week 21 of the Jeffrey Dahmer insanity trial. If you can believe that. It's absolutely unbelievable. Again, please, yeah, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming in here. MJ, I am not T-Pain, Bonnie, John Shank, welcome in. Kathy, Fuzzy Puff, Dizzy, Misty Anna, Katie, excuse me, Tanya, Dizzy, Jiggly, everybody, thank y'all very much. Kimberly up there, see you coming in here. Denise on time today, hell yeah. Before the bells even get ringing, love it, guys. Thank y'all so much. Lakota, want to give a special shout out to her. Last night, when I first made this link, she came the fuck through and dropped $10. So I want to give that shout out right the hell now. Getting the plate started last night.
I'm sober enough
give her
to
a
know
little
what
bit of
I'm
a good way
doing,
here. She
and
deserves
I'm
it.
drunk enough to
She deserves
really
it.
enjoy doing it.
Huh? Thank you so much, Lakota. You're an absolute gem and MVP here in PubliclyBuzzed community. Thank you so much. Charlotte coming through here from the future. Thank you very much, Charlotte. What is going on? Love it, love it. Patricia, excuse me, coming through here. Love it. Greasy Fizzy coming through here. What's going on? You're just in time for the bells, my man. You're going to make it before the bells, Greasy. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and hit them bad boys. You guys deserve it to be here this early. We might bring in Viv. She's going to hear them in the distance and come running. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Week 21. If you are not following on Kick, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to want to do that. I'm not stopping streaming here on YouTube, and I'm not going to normally even do a dual stream. When I stream on Kick, it's going to be random whenever the hell I probably feel like it, and it's not, and who knows what the hell's going to be going on over there, right? But there's going to be a lot of specials, especially just like what just happened Friday night with my birthday special. This coming week, Saturday, is going to be something similar. All night long movie marathon, horror movie marathon. If you're not following on Kick, you're going to want to be, okay? Copyrighted content as well, folks. Kick right now is not fully... I'm taking advantage of the situation where they're not really doing anything about copyrighted material that's being played. So we'll see what the hell happens. Adam Malone, welcome in here. Thanks for coming in, brother. Appreciate it. Adam Malone has a new YouTube channel getting ready to kick off. Going to be rocking the Cletus gimmick on YouTube, folks. And I'll get the link up here. We'll give him a little bit of love right out the gate. I like this dude, man. He tells it like it is, huh? Hold on.
I'm telling you like it is, baby.
That's what the fuck he does. I like that in a person. We don't always agree either, okay? And that's okay, folks. That's actually how it should be. I don't really know anybody that's agreeing with everybody all the time. You might want to ask yourself some questions. Please give this bro right here a follow. Once he starts posting this shit up, it's going to be interesting. Okay, so Jessica for Justice coming through here. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. As you come through, also hit the like here on YouTube. That really helps us out. They like that. Share this out to your communities. Let people know on Facebook, on Twitter, what you're doing. One thing that I wanted to show real quick, and it's confusing as hell, and I totally get it. But yesterday I made a post, and I've made a couple of posts about it. So I'm an Amazon affiliate. I had to sign up for that. And basically what that is, I'm basically showing off all the products that I use to make this channel run. Now, it is confusing because I made a post yesterday essentially saying, if you use this link and if you go through this link and make a purchase, it helps us. It gives PubliclyBuzzed a kickback. That is 100% truth. And I saw some people saying, that made a post, like, when I click the link, it takes me to, I think it's a lamp. Okay, you don't have to purchase that lamp. That's just your window. That's your portal. Unfortunately, it is awkward. It is weird because it takes you straight to this product. But if you go through that link, and then purchase literally anything that you're normally going to do on that website, okay? After you go through that portal, through that link that you hopefully have saved on your toolbar, then you can do whatever the fuck you want on Amazon. So I'm going to drop that one more time. Anybody that's doing anything on Amazon, guys, seriously, use that link that I just posted in chat there, and that will help us out. You don't have to purchase that lamp. That lamp you can fuck right off. You don't have to purchase that lamp. So, but if you use that link, it helps us out. And I get it. That is very confusing. Let me just, yeah, and you can't even see it right now, but if you do use the link, and I made like the little thing, this little flyer, but if you do use it, it helps us out, and we would appreciate the hell out of it. But also, I wanted to also address it because I also get how confusing that can be once you click a link and you're like, wait a minute, I don't want this damn lamp. I don't want the fucking lamp. Talking about Kick, I got lost in there because of you the other night. I'd not even known about it before. It's an interesting place as well. Kick is a lot more like Twitch in the way that there's a lot more gamers on there. There's a little bit of everything going on there, actually. There's a lot of people just on there talking and chatting. I like it. I had a good time on there Friday night, and it's a new thing, and you never know what could happen as new eyes getting on it, and it seems like they're trying to actually help out smaller channels and people. Yeah, and I like the chat. Say no to globalism coming the fuck through. What's up? Good morning. Thank you for coming through here. Appreciate it. Where is Austin today? I don't know. It's early. Austin will probably start rolling through here soon, folks. Joanne coming through here. What's up? Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, dude. Yeah, go ahead and do that. Copy that son of a bitch. Sarah coming through here. Good morning. Everybody's still rolling through. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it. Yeah, a couple of things I wanted to address that, and the horror movie marathon, the Amazon thing. I think that's it. I think we're ready to rock and roll. But I get it. I've had 282 clicks on the Amazon links, but I've never had anyone actually make any purchases after they make the link. So I wanted to address that just because it's confusing as fuck. I get it. I totally get it. But what are we here for, folks? We're here for motherfucking Jeffrey Dahmer's insanity trial. Dr. Park Dietz, Part 8 of this son of a bitch. This is the last time we will be hearing from Dietz. We've been with him for about a month now, it feels like. I think that's legit. Maybe a legit month. After this, we're going into the closing arguments. We'll see what kind of time we're looking at today. This first clip from Dietz, I think it's a 1 hour and 48 minutes. It's about 2 hours. It'll be half of our time here today. And then we'll see if we can maybe get into some of these closing arguments. We'll go from there. Again, thanks everyone for being here. Appreciate it. Let's rock and roll, baby. Murder Church on the air. I'll give you some bells one more time. One more time on the bells. One more time, baby. Seeing some new names on here. Love it, baby. Love it. Damn right, John. Wake these sons of bitches up. Wake them up.
There is a question that I have to ask you about the killings. And these are homicide charges, as we all know, and that he has pled guilty to, as you know. I have to ask you that at the very moment, whether he liked killing or not, at the very moment of his killing, with whatever disorder he had, as you have said it, was that present at the moment of his killing? Whatever the disorder you said it is, was that present at the moment of his killing?
The disorders that I diagnosed Mr. Dahmer as having have been present throughout his adult life,
Sure.
including the times of the killings.
Right. So that if he was unable, because of that disorder, if he lacks substantial capacity to conform his conduct to the requirements of the law because of a mental disease or the qualification that it meets the standard, that would have been in existence at the moment of the killings, correct? You understand my question?
No, I don't.
Okay, here's what I want to know. We know he had a mental disorder. You have stated it your way. Dr. Fosdell called it what he called it, Dr. Friedman, right down the line. Everybody's called it what they felt they could reason it to a reasonable degree of psychiatric certainty, all right? I want to know if what he had, as far as you are concerned, was in existence at the moment of the killing.
The bishop just answered the questions. Exact same question.
Shit. We'll start this son of a bitch out the gate. And if you are new here and you're wondering, oh God, he's going to keep pausing. Yes, there's lots of pauses. There's lots of breaks. There's lots of comedy. There's lots of me fucking off on here. And there's lots of me thanking these beautiful people that donate to this channel, such as Joanne coming through, passing the plate early with $5. Thank you so much. And a little biggie, baby. And a little ODB to start this Sunday morning out. That's how you motherfucking get it rolling, baby. Thank you so much. Appreciate the hell out of that.
There's a little different flavor to it.
Go ahead.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, what I diagnosed Mr. Dahmer as having, and whatever the true diagnosis is, even if I were incorrect for some reason there, whatever diagnosis is the case with him was present at the time of the killings.
Now, I want to I'm on the downside of our discussion, so we're going to be finished as soon as I can get through some things. He seemed, during the time of his adult life, to change his fantasies, have different ones. For instance, you have testified that when he was as young as 16...
Oh, they're kind of coming back, though, right, Jessica? She says, I feel like people just looked older in the 90s. I 100% agree. I don't miss the hairstyles from then. So yesterday we went to a Mexican restaurant, and the kid that came and waited on us, I made the comment, not to him, but after he left, this dude fell right out of 1998, dude. He looked like, he had like the Backstreet Boys, like the gelled, curly hair, like shaved around the sides, bowl cut style. Like, I hope I'm explaining that right. Little noodles for hair. Had like the necklaces, like the shirt was like the with the collar and the button up, and it was like sort of like the picnic pattern. Dude, I don't know. This motherfucker fell straight out of 1998, and it freaked me out. And he was obviously like 18 or 19 years old. We're going backwards. Well, it all comes back around, doesn't it? I think that's what happens. You're right. You're right, Kelly. You're damn right. The way it should be, actually, I think. Karen, can I say I really resent Park Dietz still on behalf of Andrea Yates? Oh man, no, you can say that. You're welcome to say that. Donna, good morning. Thank you for coming in here. Appreciate it. Adam, yeah, you can see in their structure, it's more than just hair and stuff. Yeah, man, it's completely different. It's like written in their skin. I completely understand that. Like, there's something completely different in the way, I think it's the harder life that people had back in the day. I mean, we really do have it mostly, for the most part, easy today, right? I know there's a lot of people out here that have it rough, and a lot of parts of the world that have it absolutely rough. But for the most part, today, just living generally day to day is definitely easier than it was 20 or 30 years ago.
In his masturbatory conduct, one of his fantasies, as I believe you have expressed it, was of a young male of the proper habitus, and looking at the viscera of that person became part of that fantasy. Is that right?
I think that's right. There's some confusion about that point, at least in my interviews with Mr. Dahmer, and I didn't find a discussion of the point in anyone else's interviews with him.
All right, let me ask you, if you will, go to your page 4 of your report.
My report?
Yes, sir. The last sentence.
That is 100% true. I grew up with my grandparents, and my grandpa smoked like a chimney. I remember going to the mall, smoking, him smoking all around the mall. Had to take a little break while we were going store to store. I'll take a little seat right here at this bench. I'll puff this cigarette down. Maybe I'll puff a second one down. Wrestling matches. You could smoke right there by ringside. In the 90s, there was literally anywhere. So I don't know if there was any rules about anything. Maybe a hospital, maybe a courtroom. Maybe they had some kind of rules. I don't know. If there's an ashtray in that vicinity, that means you could smoke, friends. Smoking or no smoking section. I remember those days.
It says, by late adolescence, thoughts
yes,
of rendering
Raymond Noodle hair. That's exactly what this kid had.
Exposing the viscera
planes
were a regular, though not invariant, component of his sexual fantasies. Did I read it right?
Yes, that's right.
How, in his fantasies, was he going to expose the viscera
or a ninja?
Clean the person? Do you understand?
In the fantasies, it doesn't matter. You see, all he has to do is fantasize.
But the fantasy that he was having on the exposing of the viscera, was that person in that fantasy dead to allow him to fantasize and exposing the viscera?
Wrestling.
I understand what you're saying, but Mr. Dahmer was never quite clear on the context.
Fuck, John. Holy shit. Let's talk about that. I got busted with 1.3 million in weed in the 90s. Holy fuck, dude. How much time did you do for that? Good Lord. That's a fuck ton. If you get caught with 1.3 million pounds of weed, now you're fucked. Jesus Christ. Good Lord. Also, mad respect.
There's a little doubt as to whether he had the fantasy that
Bastards.
early. At one point he told me, yes, he did. At another point he said, no, he didn't.
Okay.
And then he said, maybe he did. About that particular fantasy at that time.
Good old days, am I right?
You conclude.
Hey, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't smoke cigarettes. I do not smoke. I don't like cigarettes. But I'll tell you what, I don't give a fuck who does smoke cigarettes. I don't want somebody blowing it into my face. But I'm not one of those motherfuckers that's like, excuse me, please don't be smoking. No, fuck off, dude. I'm actually for the cigarette writer's rights, the smoker's rights. You want to be smoking out here? Smoke where the fuck you want. I get it, secondhand, it's bad. And I get it's bad for you in general. But it comes right back to whose fucking decision is. All right? If he isn't bothering anybody or again blowing it directly in your smoke or being a nuisance or an actual asshole, I'll say fuck off with that shit.
Thoughts of
I don't smoke.
And exposing the viscera were a regular, though not
or like them.
Of his sexual fantasies.
They smell like shit.
Was discussed.
Yes.
Now, late adolescence is 16, 17?
That's what I was referring to.
You know that with Mr. Hicks, after he killed Mr. Hicks, he did in fact expose
Todd,
the viscera.
morning.
And he did ejaculate.
Wow. Damn, that seems like a light one. Shit, brother.
Yes.
In the course
yes,
of
they
your
did.
Experience.
Oh, hot today. Coming in hot. Loving it.
Dealing with everybody that you've ever dealt with. Have you ever seen anyone, whatever you want to...
Dude, I guarantee that was the total thing, right? You just had a baby. You're like, oh, where's that? Where's the fucking, give me the smokes. Where's the pack at? You just start. Patting that son of a bitch out right there. Right there. The baby's right here, right beside you. Give me a lighter. Light this son of a bitch up.
Called the impairment. Have you ever seen anyone do the
I'm
kind
telling
of
you
things
like
he
it is, baby.
did to not only one human, but to a number of human beings, and I say trying to make them zombies?
Oh, shit. Viv. Viv is here. We got the pause up for 1 second. I'm late. Sliding in sideways. Scoot over, Fuzzy Puff. Give me some room in the pew. Welcome, Viv. And I'm going to give you some, I know you love it. And I'm going to give them to you because I love you. Some extra bells this morning. Some extra bells, ladies and gentlemen. For none other than the beautiful Viv. And if you're not following Art with Viv, you done fucked up. She's amazing. She's a beautiful soul. She's awesome as shit. My grandpa loved smoking. He did die of cancer. Lung cancer, even. That's part of the reason I don't smoke. But he loved that motherfucking cigarette, bro.
Ejaculating in the viscera, or laying with them and having anal sex after death and or before death, and
You know.
while unconscious, or eating body parts, or exposing skulls.
Fuzzy Puff, Ricky Cougarback, Dan, does not appear during Murder Church. He's appeared one time in the chat, and I think that was 2 weeks ago, and it was a glorious day. He got the bells. We hit him with the love. It was awesome. But normally, Dan stays up late on Saturday nights. I do too, but I still get the fuck up and do my motherfucking job. But he stays up watching UFC and fucking off with his friends. You guys give him hell. Give Dan hell on the old Twitter machine there. Let him know what the hell he's missing out on here on Murder Church.
And all of the above. Have you ever had anybody like that?
I have had cases in which individuals eviscerated, ejaculated on the viscera.
Wow.
Cases in which people have eaten body parts. Cases in which people retain body parts.
Ain't no reason to.
Cases in which people laid with the dead body. Cases in which there was an anal penetration of a dead body. And I forget what else you may have said, but I've seen a case.
Good morning,
every
Unravel.
element of that.
Have you seen one case where all of those things were embodied in the same case?
I don't think any of the other cases have every single one of those elements simultaneously.
Now, let's talk, if we can, about delusions. Delusions are a false belief, no basis in reality.
I felt that day, y'all.
That a person believes
Get it?
for what?
Hey, we're only on this weird-ass rock for a small amount of time any way you look at it, folks. Have some fun.
Period of time. Tell me, define delusion.
A delusion is a false belief resulting from a mental illness
Okay.
that is not susceptible to disproof with evidence. There are various kinds of delusions. Some of them are completely implausible, and those are called bizarre delusions, such as believing that one's brain has turned to cheese, or believing that one's the Emperor Napoleon.
Morning, Crime Spies. Welcome in.
Others of them are not completely impossible, but are simply wrong, and those are considered not to be bizarre delusions.
Here's what I want to ask you. In your report, you attributed Jeffrey Dahmer to telling you that he ate body parts on 10 different victims, or 10 different occasions, which?
10 different occasions.
Did he tell you that he was eating them because he wanted to have those people become a part of him?
He said originally it was out of curiosity and experimentation, because the other things weren't providing much satisfaction. He wanted to try something new. So he was, I would describe it as flirting with some other activity to see if it would be fulfilling. But he discovered that it did support a fantasy of being with the whole person, sometimes because he'd use photographs he'd taken, particularly in the case of Mr. Miller, to support that fantasy, and that he also came to have this sense of making the person a part of himself as well.
Delusional belief, that?
It's
Is
not
that a delusional belief that if you ate something of another person, that that for one moment could ever become a part of you, would that be a delusional belief?
It's not a delusion for a couple reasons.
It's a false belief.
Well, that's arguable, since in fact the protein is incorporated into the muscle of the person eating it. I think a lot of people are familiar with the notion that you are what you eat.
I heard that. How about the person who has a steak and feels that the steer from whence the steak came is now part of him? Would that be a false belief? I'm talking about the steer itself. I mean, you see the steer and you see it slaughtered, and then they, you know, let's take something we all do, not all do, but deer hunt. The hunter that comes home having shot the buck with the big horns, who then has a roast from it, says, I'm eating that to his co-workers, his co-hunters, I'm eating that because I want that buck that I shot with that big rack to be a part of me.
The hell is a puffin?
Delusional? Would that be a
Googling a
delusional
puffin.
belief?
No.
Okay. Let's talk about the altar.
Oh, like a bird?
We have a man who has kept 10 skulls and has attempted to...
Why do puffins look so sad? The puffin is carrying all the world's negativity. The puffin looks like the saddest thing I've ever seen in my life. Look at his eyes. Look at his little eyes. This dude's seen some shit, bro. I've never heard of a puffin, but they look awesome.
Use epoxy glue to make some skeletons. Am I accurate so far? Did he tell you about that?
He did tell me that.
Who had an idea of this altar from whence he would sit in a chair and draw power from what he was viewing, so that amongst other things he might make some money in real estate, become proficient in real estate. Is that a false belief?
If he were to believe that that was going to work and go about trying to convince others that it's so, and had no doubts about it, and you couldn't talk him out of it with evidence to the contrary, that could qualify. But that's not how it was.
Okay, that's understandable. I understand if that would be a delusional belief, and you said it would. What if it's just kind of a way of passing time?
Dude, its eyes.
That is, taking 10
Probably just the way
skulls
they're
from
shaped,
fellas-
but-
from 10 fellas that you've dissected, and just sitting there, just looking at them and remembering what they were like when they were alive and how much you enjoyed them and all of the acts that you did to cause that to happen. Would that person who was doing that be doing anything delusional, or would that be just kind of like a fellow looking at his trophies?
Would be like a hunter looking in his trophy room.
You yesterday indicated to us that this is somewhat analogous to a youngster going and getting a baseball signed by a Major League Baseball player, and then that signature makes him part. Did you say he becomes like part of the baseball player? Is that what you were telling us?
I was talking about the...
Donna gonna start this son of a bitch off also. $4.99 past the plate for Pastor Steve. Donna, what are you getting? What are you getting? Thank you, Donna. I'm gonna give Donna a little gun country. She gets the rare gun country today.
This is gun country.
And don't forget it. Love it, love it. Thank you, Donna, for that. $4.99 here on Murder Church, going straight into the plate and keeping us rocking and rolling. Yeah, that bird had the saddest eyes I've ever seen in my life. It is carrying all the world's depression on its shoulders, in its head, in its eyes. But it was cute.
Individuals wanting to incorporate someone else as part of themselves. One of the examples I used was trying to obtain...
Shit. Say no to globalism. Not even letting me roll on, and that's what I like, baby. $4.99, passing the plate, and I always like it when she says this part. In the bowl. Huh? Ooh, we got Halle Berry. Fuck it. Huh? Love it. Thank you very much. And she always gets a
This is gun country.
gun country. Love it. Love it.
I'm telling you like it is,
Give her a
baby.
little something else. Tell me about it. Boom.
artifacts of famous people, or in another time, artifacts of the saints, for example.
Welcome in, Lisa.
To try to have a part of something very special and keep it with oneself.
Good morning.
Dr. Dietz.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Dahmer.
Squirt somebody right in the face with a little holy water. Bam, bam. Huh? Then we can use that and not be as weird, huh?
This is gun country.
Squirt gun country. Holy water squirt gun country, bitch.
This is gun country.
Boom, boom, boom. That right there probably in itself is got this monetized. They're like, what was he holding there? Was that a gun? Oh, God. Adam Malone coming through here, $5. Is there any way I can steal money from the plate at church like that kid Tim kept in the in that box in Florida? As it comes through, you might be able to stake a little bit out. Shit. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. That was a crazy one. I didn't keep up with that case. I saw you posting about that case, and I saw many others, and I saw that you had a different opinion on it, actually, that no one else really had. Everyone was, you were kind of saying that kid might have deserved to be put in that box, I saw. Was he evil? Like, I didn't keep up with that one literally at all.
Attempted homemade lobotomies.
Holly don't make morning ones.
You, as you had reported to us that he was trying.
I think she's been here once also.
Correct?
It's early. It's hard. I get it.
You know, as a medical doctor, do you not, that goal of his,
I like
on
that.
the basis of how he was trying to do it, was an impossibility.
That what was his? I missed one.
Destroying the frontal lobe, the intellectual lobe, to cut off another person's will, to retain them forever as a sex slave, was not medically possible to do a homemade lobotomy.
Yeah.
Or was it?
I know it.
Well, first of all, destroying someone's will with a single incision would not be an easy task.
Sure.
But a homemade lobotomy is a possible task. The effects of an actual prefrontal...
Dude, speaking of this, and I'd have to look it up, I don't remember the name of it, but there's a bird that can fly for like... Fucking, it doesn't even have to come down out of the sky. It's so freaking massive. It's huge. It came through Twitter, but it flies... What was it? Hold on. It flies until the first time it wants to mate. Like, it literally never drops out of the air. It is always flying until the first time it mates, and then it goes back up. Like, and they're freaking gargantuan, like massive, scary, prehistoric looking, and still out here.
Lobotomy wouldn't be precisely what he wanted. If he'd been able to achieve it by cutting exactly the right part or destroying it, he would have had someone whose emotions were out of control and who would laugh in a silly way at things that weren't really funny, and who would cry at the drop of a hat over things that weren't really sad, and who was terrible at making plans for the future. But it wouldn't quite destroy what he wanted to get rid of, the will.
I'm sorry. Is it your belief that he was successful the first time that he tried that? There wouldn't have been any of these other murders? Creating that zombie?
These thin-lipped motherfuckers out here in this courtroom. These 1992, 1991 thin-lipped motherfuckers. Huh? Different side. They're thin-skinned, too. You can see through them. You can see their veins. Damn white people.
He believed that when he told you that fact, that if he had, that's what he wanted, and if he had been able to achieve it, would have been all over it, no more murders. Did you believe that?
No, they're vicious, ain't they?
Exactly. I think the
I do have a buy me a coffee, Kathy. Hold on, let me get my links up here.
Sure.
Because he's not a person.
Mod this son of a bitch myself here.
Character is such that a monogamous single relationship was likely to work any more than a man who...
There is some links in the chat, folks. If you do want to support another way, there's a PayPal, there's a Cash App, there's a Venmo, and the Ko-Fi for a buy me a beer as well. Appreciate that.
Finally manages to sexually have contact with a woman who's attractive to him, will necessarily be satisfied with that one permanently.
But we heard they were one of his
We get a little wild.
choices. So when he is reporting what his choices are to you, you're not necessarily believing that would have been the final thing anyway.
I'm going Paul's crazy today, but holy shit, Karen B. My son-in-law told me yesterday that praying mantises eat hummingbirds. Does anybody know if this is true? I've never heard of that, but holy shit, I almost could see it. A praying mantis is scary to me. I think they're pretty chill, but man, I remember being a kid and you're hanging out in your backyard and you're about to go down the fucking slide and all of a sudden there's a praying mantis just at the top of the slide staring at you as you climb up your little ladder. Hey, right here, me and you. Nope, I'm out. That's your slide, bro.
Correct?
That's right. I don't think we can tell from his hierarchy that if he could have had it this
Me
way, he'd
too.
never have done anything else.
In other words, when he said to you,
Brooklyn, good morning.
when I went to these bathhouses, I had to put these
Erica,
people
welcome in.
unconscious, and the only reason I put them unconscious is they wanted to do anal sex, and I didn't want that. I want them to do it to me, so this way I had control over them, and I was the one calling the shots as to what was going to be done. Yeah, that's one of the things he reported to you.
Yes, that, and of course the control over how long they'd spend with him.
Okay, now,
Yo, AZ, welcome in, brother. Love it. Everybody in here this morning. This is awesome.
the very first time he
I hope there's no kids in here, Miss Deanna. This is a trigger warning 18 plus stream.
bathhouse, had decided that he didn't mind that kind of activity. The kind of activity I just described. It was okay with him. Is it your opinion?
Talk about sloppy seconds. Jesus fucking Christ. I just read a story about a funeral director. Oh, man, I've got that. Hold on. I got to fix the chat real quick. Yeah, that was a long one, but... Not sure where it went. But that is the definition of sloppy seconds. Let me put that back up so I can... Put that above everything else. There it is. One more time. One more time, Brooklyn. I just read a story about a funeral director who stole a sex doll from a descendant's home. On that note, I'm going to go into the smoke for just a moment here. Holy fuck. What the hell?
That we wouldn't have been talking about him later rendering people unconscious? Or would that still have happened? You understand my question?
I understand what you're saying, but the answer depends largely on what choices he were to make. Because at all times, he could have chosen...
Oh, I haven't seen any mods in here this morning. I don't know where the hell... Well, no, we got Jamie up in this motherfucker. Here we go, modding this son of a bitch up. Thank you, brother, for being here. Love it, bro.
to indulge those of his fantasies that harmed other people or that were criminal.
Everybody took the morning off on me.
Taking such measures as he did.
So what I think I'm hearing you saying is that at all times, at any time,
JB's got my back.
that he was on. I'm gonna pull it up here to make sure that everybody sees.
Oh my God. There are videos from the Discovery Channel of praying mantises catching and eating hummingbirds. Oh my God, that sounds horrible. Wow. What the fuck, dude? I believe it though. Like, oh, you got it, bro. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. It's all good. It's all chilling here anyways. Anything gets out of hand, I will axe them. Damn right, Donna. You damn right.
So that all times on this killing road, and if you can't see it down there, at all times on this killing road, Jeffrey Dahmer.
Here's the questions on that, right? It's an ethics thing, right? So how do they get in the house to get the sex doll? Like being the person from the funeral home? Like how do they know about the sex doll? How did they become to get, how did they get the sex doll from the home?
Could have gotten up one morning and said,
Questions!
"Okay, I'm done." He had the ability to do that. Is that what you're telling us?
Certainly.
There's no fire this morning. I love it. Thank y'all so much for being here. Appreciate it, seriously. Guys rule, man.
As he evidenced in July and in June and in May and in April, if he chose after Tracy Edwards to say, "I'm not going to stop," we could have expected a rise in pretty much the same line, what with his mindset as it was going up the line, drinking the same amount. True?
If he drank the same amount, had the same apartment, same amount of money, hadn't gotten caught, managed to keep the disposal outflow as high as the intake, then he would have continued, I think.
And it is your professional opinion to a reasonable degree of psychiatric certainty that he could have stopped any time. Just
Do you guys imagine a giant praying mantis? Like a giant praying mantis. It'd be fucking horrifying.
stop. That the recurrent, intense sexual urges of his paraphilic disorder were not so severe that he could have stopped without more than willpower. His willpower was strong enough to say stop.
Well, the urges are no more severe than anyone else's sexual urges. It's a matter of deciding how one will fulfill them. At other times, he decided to fulfill them in lawful ways. At these times, he did not.
If I understand what you're saying is that no person's sexual urges can ever become so strong that they can't...
All right, I looked that up, Adam. I'm going to play... damn, I can't play that on here just outright. Fuck. But I'm going to watch that, the Jeffrey Dahmer. I'm going to put that actually in the chat because it sounds hilarious. At Saturday Night Live, Jeffrey Dahmer skit. Chevy Chase is Jeffrey Dahmer. Put that in the chat anyways. Oh, shit. Good morning, Jay. What's up, brother? Thanks for coming in here, man. It's been a wild one this morning, dude. We've been going. Fucking everybody's on fire today. I hope you had a good weekend, dude.
Stop.
I object to that. This is referring to this particular man, not speculative.
Oh, I'm not talking about Dr. Dietz's sexual urges. I'm talking about a
Defendant Dahmer.
You indicated, let's withdraw the question. You indicated that Dahmer could stop at any time because his sexual urges were no different than anyone else's sexual urges. Is that what you said?
Well, I indicated that with respect to sexual urges...
Yeah, it's been fire today, this morning, Jay. I am revved up. You're right. I don't know what it is.
The intensity of normal sexual urges. But mind you, sexual urges aren't why he was killing. He didn't have sexual urges to be killing. So it's a little misleading to be talking about the intensity of sexual urges.
Why was he trying to create a zombie? For what purpose?
In order to be able to have handy someone to use for sexual purposes.
Why was he killing?
In some instances, to avoid a confrontation that would follow in the morning. In some instances, in one instance, because he had to destroy the evidence of the brain-damaged young man that he'd been seen with by the police and others. And in general, because he wanted to spend more time enjoying sexual activity with these individuals.
Now, how about then his attempts to alter the killing by using the mannequin and going to the graveyard? How does that fit into this program of...
Woo! Welcome in, Jay. What is happening, brother? Yeah. I'm a little revved up this morning. Absolutely. Good morning. Donnie coming through here as well. As you guys come in and fill out the room, thank you very much. Please hit that like. Let people know what you're doing here. Share it out to your communities on Facebook, on Twitter. Yeah, you guys are awesome, man. It's been a killer morning so far. Again, we are getting down to the nitty gritty of this Jeffrey Dahmer insanity trial. I would say next week, maybe we'll go into the third week. Well, actually, hold on. Next week's canceled. So the next week could be the next one. Next week is canceled because of the horror movie night that I was mentioning earlier. Next Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern time, all the way to 7 a.m. Eastern time into Sunday morning. We're going to be watching this movie. So I am canceling Murder Church then.
Is sexual urges.
The mannequin
Yes, sir.
was an effort to
I mean, no.
find
no.
a stimulus to his fantasies that would be useful for a time. In fact, was for 2 weeks. He enjoyed masturbating to this mannequin of a male that he'd stolen from a shopping center, and which was clothed, and that was successful, just as looking at videotapes had been successful, and looking
Now I'm
at
jealous.
photographs had been successful, and fantasy alone had been successful. But his grandmother found the mannequin and he got rid of it. But it was successful. That is, he was able, with any of those stimuli, to masturbate and have an orgasm, which relieves sex drive until it's time for the next urge.
Yeah.
And
You've heard of slasher movies, but not the term horror movies, Katie? Where are you from? Honest question.
in the same way that he had done that,
Yeah.
he thought
gonna be
perhaps
fun.
he would try to find a fresh corpse through going to
He
the
said a lot of
funerals
a lot of
and
masturbation talk.
And so I have no doubt that had he been able to obtain that corpse, that he would have found that useful and enjoyable too.
Doctor, do you believe that Mr. Flowers would have been a victim had his grandmother not walked in on the foray, on the two of them together? You know who I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. I think so, yes.
Do you think that the youngster that was able to get out, the one he hit over the head with the mallet, would have been dead had he had him unconscious from the strike?
Yeah, Jay, Kick was awesome Friday night, dude. We did the dual stream. We did a two-computer situation to where at Dan's house, he had I made like a little, basically a flyer, that had basically just saying, hey, come to Kick to watch the rest of Feral Friday. So we had that going live on YouTube, plug-in Kick. But the whole night was awesome on Kick, man. We went about, I don't even know over there. I mean, we went for about 2.5 hours extra over there, I would say. Just having a good time. I listened to whatever the fuck I wanted. I played that song that you posted in. Watched a bunch of Jason clips. I posted on Twitter yesterday. We played Stuck in the Middle with You to some Jason death kills, which were fucking awesome. Now it was a party, man. Charlotte was up all fucking night. Like, she was up deep into the future in the UK. Yeah, man, it was fun as shit. Now, anybody not on Kick, I'm telling you, I'm not streaming on Kick regularly. I'm not going to be doing dual streams with my regular shows. It'll still be regularly on YouTube. YouTube's still my jam. I mean, that's where I have my members. That's where I still do get paid through YouTube. But Kick, I'm close to getting able to have subscribers over there. And Kick, what I'm going to be using it for is going to be random streams. You never know when the fuck I'm going to be coming on over there. Literally, anytime I feel like coming on and just talking some shit, it could be on Kick. And for specials, for exactly what happened Friday night, for parties, when I want to play copyrighted content, until that stops, because it will eventually stop. But I mean, I'm really excited about Kick. I think Kick is dope, and I plan on using Kick fairly often. Like I said, specials are going to be sweet on Kick. But keep an eye out, because I'm going to be coming on Kick to do who knows what on Kick, okay? It's going to be fun. It's still going to be in the true crime genre for the most part. Unless I just want to fuck off and do some movie stuff. Again, you never know, man. Keep your eyes on Kick. Stevie Irwin, what's up, sir?
You treat paraphilias?
Get on
For
Kick.
years now.
How long was the last time you
Dude.
treated paraphilia?
Dude,
Well,
Jay.
since I stopped doing any treatment and started.
I know it's we're having a party this morning. Fuck it. I don't give a shit. This is the family in here. Friday night, and the Probably Nothing Hour with Viv. Holy crap. That was one of the funnest times I've freaking had, man. Viv is so freaking funny. Yeah, like I had a great time hanging out, and it was from Jay's Patreon. If you're not in Jay's community, which I'm sure everybody in here is, I'm fucked up, just like I said earlier with Viv. But man, get on the Patreon for Jay as well, because it's well worth it. He gives you all kinds of little extra things that you're not going to get anywhere else. It was a live stream, literally an overhead shot of Viv painting while narrating, while you could also still hear Jay and Shannon. It was fucking awesome. And then if you're in the Discord, you can hang out with everybody else as well. So there was multiple options for chat. It was fun as hell, man. I didn't even paint. I do wish I'd have got some paint and did that part, but I actually didn't get off till 5. I was a little late getting in there, but still, no, it was so fun, man. It was cool. It was real cool.
doing forensic psychiatry, and that was about 1982 when I stopped doing treatment.
How about necrophilics? Have you treated any of them?
So fun.
Ever?
No, I don't think we had any at Hopkins or at Bridgewater.
One of the things that you wrote about forensic psychiatrists is that neither the legal system nor society needs forensic psychiatrists who believe that an ability to testify qualifies them to answer any question. They need true experts in criminal behavior, mental disability, forensic child psychiatry, or legal aspects of psychiatric practice. And that is a statement that you made, and you're obviously committed to that. That sounds like what you should say.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude, that would be perfect. Seriously, man. You know, hell, it's your thing. I mean, but that would be fucking dope. Like, and I'll get the paint, man. I think that'd be even cooler because I saw everybody posting their paintings after, and I was like, oh my god, they were hilarious, dude.
I ask you, is not one when they start?
Why the hell not?
This compulsion.
Donnie, get on that thing, bud.
A person's given sexual disorder is not a person who treats those people on a daily basis, whether they be 1 or 50, isn't that a person who can become an expert in the mental disability of the paraphilia that they're teaching, or that they're treating? Wouldn't you agree with that?
Of course.
Sure. And if those people say...
He's giving them hell for so many hours,
as a
Megsy.
clinical psychiatrist, psychologist, who is treating these paraphilics day in and day out, that I believe that the sickness that they have, forget about what the legal system calls it, but the sickness that they have becomes so overwhelming that they will not be able to stop it by willpower alone. Aren't they to be given some credence?
Well, I respect Dr. Berlin's opinion on this, but so far, I believe he's been unable to convince any of the rest of us who have experience in criminal behavior, and we await some showing of convincing evidence that that's the case.
Well, but you have been on the docket since 1985 of saying that no sexual disorder can ever be in and of itself a mental disease under the legal system, correct?
Sure, and so is almost everyone else in my field. Dr. Berlin is the only person I've ever heard of suggesting that someone could be legally insane because of a paraphilia alone until this case.
Did you hear Dr. Becker's testimony?
No, I've never heard her testify on any sanity issue.
Did you hear Dr. Wallstrom's testimony?
No, I didn't.
Okay. So what you're saying is, if I heard you, that you have to
Me either.
be convinced.
When it comes to art like that, drawing and
because
stuff.
right now, nobody's been able to convince you that a person suffering from a paraphilia can't stop that behavior by willpower alone. Right?
I think my entire profession needs to be convinced.
Everybody, things change, don't they?
Yeah, we'll hype it up, man. We'll get this one pumped up, man. We'll keep talking about it. Yeah, get as many people in there as possible. Because I'm just going to say right now, we didn't have a lot of people in there, and it was so fun. Like, I couldn't even imagine if it was just full of, like, all the insane people. But, no, it was amazing. Holy shit, Joe, what's up? Joe, are you going live after this, brother?
It was a century ago when people thought that some
set you up if you are
paraphiles were insane, and in this century, we've learned that that doesn't seem possible, and now Dr. Berlin wants to push the clock back. But
I don't see you,
it's a
so I don't
different
think
view.
so. See some J streams though. I'm gonna put in
This is not Dietz versus Berlin.
Jay's
You're
Melly
entitled to
hearing
your opinion. It's up to the jury to weigh, correct?
as the portal
It is for the jury to make a decision.
We
location.
don't have any other psychiatrists.
43 viewers and 43 likes. That's what I like to see, everybody. Let's go. Huh? Wrong one. But yeah, you get the picture. Even though he's not here.
Dan's a fantastic man.
Dan's a fantastic
I don't remember
man.
asking you a goddamn thing.
Love Dan. Love Dan.
I'm telling you like it is, baby.
Who you're quoting are coming into the courtroom after you, so I have a chance to get out of them their reasons for feeling the way you do. True?
I don't know what your plans are.
Well, but there's no other these other psychiatrists in the profession.
Shit, it's the cops. I forgot to do that. Every time Joe comes in, I'm just gonna be like, oh shit, it's the cops.
Don't agree, except Dr. Berlin and you are in opposite poles. I mean, this right now is just my asking you your opinion, correct? I'm not asking you about what the opinion of these unknown, at least unknown to me, psychiatrists are. So I want to ask you this. Have you changed your opinion at any time in the last 10 years, reference any type of mental disorder by classifying it as something greater than it was at the time it was reviewed? Have you done that?
I don't quite understand.
All right, let me ask you this question. Didn't DSM-3R take paraphilias out of sexual disorders and sexual deviations? Didn't they move it into a different category by itself?
I hadn't noticed. If we did, I thought it was still in with sexual disorders.
But wasn't it one time called sexual deviations?
Oh, all the paraphilias were at one time called sexual deviations.
Are they now?
DSM-3R now uses the term paraphilias.
Why?
Because a lot of people thought sexual deviations included homosexuality, and Dr. Money, who was on the DSM-3 committee, wanted to reintroduce the term paraphilia.
Damn it.
Which Wilhelm Stekel had urged used back in the 20s, in the turn of the century.
25 years ago, was there a mental disability known as Alzheimer's disease?
Yes.
What was it called?
At that time?
Yes, sir.
25 years ago.
That's true too. And you're in, as I'm Not T-Pain says right here, if you do become a member here at Publicly Buzzed Live, you're going to have a good time, because every 2 Tuesdays there's a members only live stream where I'm taking I'm trying to find cases or killers or criminals that are more on the, the side of things that people haven't been talking about, that you haven't heard of probably, or most likely. So yeah, you're going to want to become a member. I've got 2 already in the can that you can go back and check out in episode 1 and episode 2. We just did episode 2 on Tuesday. This coming Tuesday, in 2 days, that episode will be free to the public. So if you're a member, you would have got that one for free. And what's coming out on Tuesday is an edited version of that as well. So, so we have, a conversation after. I like to, if you're a member, I like to kind of get everybody's opinions. But if you're a member on Tuesday afterwards, I love to get the members' specific opinions about what they like and don't like about what's going on. I'm trying to tweak it just a little bit. I'm trying to, quite frankly, I'm pretty good at just talking and bullshitting live. But I've found that once I've written the script and I'm kind of doing it live, it's a lot. I mean, I want to sound as natural as possible, so I'm trying to get better with reading out loud and being a public speaker, I guess, for lack of a better term here. But yeah, but at the same time, watch me grow in real fucking time. I don't know, but become a member, and I'd appreciate it. Up top, it's actually pinned. Become a member today. And again, I don't think you're going to regret it, man. That's still good ass stories, and I put a lot of work into them. Regardless, you get some edited videos in there. It's good stuff.
Talk about it as senile dementia and lump a whole group of different conditions together there.
That's right. And then through study, those in your field started recognizing that it's not just hardening of the arteries or old age. It is a condition, and it was called Alzheimer's. So there was a change in that, was there not?
There was a recognition that Alzheimer's was one cause of the syndrome that used to be lumped together, and there was an increased knowledge.
What did they call anorexia 25 years ago?
25 years ago, I think probably most anorectics would have either been called models or hysterics.
Is that a mental disease?
Anorexia nervosa?
Yeah. Is it?
Again, mental disease isn't a medical term, but it's certainly a mental disorder.
How severe?
life-threatening.
Is it as severe as schizophrenia?
In a different dimension, schizophrenia is far more severe in what it does to mental processes, but less likely to pose an immediate threat to life.
So anorexia, of course, you folks, with the more you've studied, have come to understand more about it, and you have been able to find ways of understanding it and treating it, right?
People in my field have, yes.
And bulimia is the same. It's life-threatening.
Yeah, right here, Megsy. I honestly don't think any of the doctors were able to figure out Dahmer or what was wrong with him. I mean, God, he's such a complex one, dude. We went through this entire fucking trial now. This is literally the last segment before we get to closing arguments. And I mean, he was a confusing dude. I mean, by all aspects, when you really talk about the case of Jeffrey Dahmer and what he did, how can you not go, this guy wasn't out of his fucking mind and crazy as shit, right? And insane. But when you really think about it and you really break down the facts and you get to these experts that we've had, all, you know, all differing opinions that have talked to him endlessly, you know, ad nauseum, like I couldn't imagine sitting in a room with Jeffrey Dahmer for more than a minute, much less for 18 hours like this gentleman did. And some of the other ones even longer, I believe. And then you kind of actually start to see it broke down and they're explaining it. Why, you know, he was hiding things, you know. He did know what he was doing when he went out there. He went out to pick people specifically that he didn't think would be missed, right? You know, he's thinking about this beforehand. He's trying to hide his tracks actively. He did a shitty job at the end, and he did get completely out of control. And again, maybe that's where you say he's completely bonkers and went off the rails. But there was, you know, times between the very first murder, what was it, 78, 79? There was a large break in between there. He did a lot of activities in his real life, but, you know, going to service, coming back out. And then there was a point in time where it felt like that he just he couldn't control it anymore. And he just went off the fucking deep end. And then at the end, it happened with Gacy too, right? It happens with all these guys. It's, you know, I'm really putting BTK in there because it seemed like he stretched his out as far as we know. You know, we haven't seen any other evidence yet that's sticking out. There's lots of breadcrumbs. It looks like he might have had other stuff going on, but these other guys, that's like at the end, they just freak the fuck out and they just can't. Even Bundy, right? At the end, after he broke out of jail in Colorado and he dipped to Florida, and he could have probably blended in for a while there, right? That was the late 70s, 77, I think, maybe. I might be fucked up on the year there, but he just couldn't control himself. What the fuck he do? He broke into a fucking dorm, killed multiple girls, attacked multiple girls. Like, he literally could not control it at the very end. And Jeffrey Dahmer is much alike here. And I think at the end, you know, he probably didn't want to get caught, but fuck, if he wasn't relieved, right? He was just like, here's everything, bro. That's a fucking wow. I don't even know if I'll hit my original point there, but
Threatening, is it not?
Yes.
Was unheard of 20.
Here we go too. Y'all pop this up here. This Thursday, Creators Who Crush. And if you're not watching this new series by Jay, you're dumb fucked up as well. That's a shirt, baby. But me and Dan are gonna be on there with Shannon. Are you fucking kidding me, man? Fuck yeah, stoked, baby. Fucking stoked. It's gonna be good as shit. Yeah, we're excited to be on there, Jay. Pumped, bro.
5 years ago.
I don't know how we're going to match what was up with Lisk. You know, Catch Lisk was on there as an amazing creator. And, you know, the important work that they do. But, man, we're excited.
No, but it was certainly not a common...
Oh, shit. Might as well keep her paused. I'm rambling. We're going crazy this morning. I'm on fire. I feel like I'm on fire anyways. Bonnie Bailey, passing the plate again. You missed me, Pastor Steve. More gummies. $5. Did I miss one? Oh, my God. If I didn't miss one, I apologize. Holy shit, Bonnie. That is my bad, but thank you very much on the gummies. I'll make sure that I get one of those out of the plate right fucking now because I think I need a gummy. Bonnie, thank you so much, though. I'll give you another one. Give you a little dancing with it. Give you a little dancing with it.
Known term, and I think only people with very specialized knowledge had even heard of it.
I guess the reason is that 25 years from now, let's hope we never have another new subcategory, that there are 50 more Jeffrey Dahmers that come down the pike. We probably might learn more about the kind of disease or the kind of disorder he has, correct?
I'm sure we'll continue to learn more about the paraphilias.
Later, Donna. Thank you for being in here. Appreciate
also
it.
The necrophilias.
Have a good Sunday.
Necrophilia in particular.
Take care of that puppy.
Now, the business of compulsion,
I like that, yeah.
the cognitive and the volitional.
Yo, Law Nerd Amber, welcome
It
in.
goes to the appreciation of right from wrong. The volitional
Miss
goes
S,
to the
welcome
ability
in.
to conform your conduct, right?
Yes.
Emily.
Is not compulsion an act of the will?
I feel like it after we went through this much, Jay. Jesus Christ, dude. 21 weeks? Good
The
Lord.
medical concept.
What is even
of
happening?
compulsion that I specifically delineated would deal with the will.
Okay, so therefore, if I have a compulsion to do something, and I say in order for me to do that compulsion, that thing that I want so bad, I have to do A, B, and C. I have to get in my car, I have to drive to the liquor store, and I have to purchase the bottle because I want to drink, or the anorexic young lady or bulimic young lady, same kind of example. The planning of
Shit,
that,
we got a new member right now. Todd gonna grab a membership thanks to Kelly Gale. Kelly, first of all, thank you.
Welcome to the party, pal.
And welcome to the party, pal, to Todd. Man, appreciate that. That's awesome. Beers in the chat. Look at them satisfying pours right there. That's for you, Todd, man. Grab you 3 of them sons of bitches and slam them down. Yeah.
Welcome to the
Give
party,
you another
pal.
one. Love it, love it. Thank you, Kelly. Appreciate it. Todd, hopefully you enjoy the members-only content. Also, there's members-only posts that you're going to see some special pics. You know, I need to do some more behind-the-scenes stuff, specifically maybe some bloopers and stuff. That'd probably be dope. Because I fuck up a lot, as you guys can imagine. But animal pics, baby, on there, specific to members.
is an
Beers in the chat.
intellectual
Jay knows.
exercise.
Jay knows. There we go. Dizzy knows. Viv.
Well, you're not describing
Sarah. Hell yeah. Lisa.
medical
Hell yeah.
compulsion
Boom.
now.
Beers in the chat, everybody. Thank y'all.
what would be described in ordinary language as a compulsion to go drink. And yes, it's true that the planning and activities that go into that are part of the intellectual exercise.
But I guess what I'm trying to say then is when you tell us about all the planning that he was doing, that was part of his cognitive function, was it not?
Making plans in advance and thinking them through.
That'll be a good one. Yeah, I need to get a T-Pain one.
Cognitive.
I don't know anything really
In
about
addition,
T-Pain,
Executing a plan.
but I will get you something.
Taking
Send me
steps
something on Twitter.
deliberately,
Give me a soundbite
delaying
that you want.
gratification, and acting
love
according
you.
to a timetable that suits one's interests may reflect great volitional control as well.
Told us
Yeah, Brooklyn. Hey, I'll promote all damn day. I'm a promoting machine. Brooklyn. I think you should be able to get the app on your phone pretty easily. But yeah, man, make sure you're subbed up if you do create the app for Jay and me and Joe. Joe's on Kick as well, and I think Defense Stars is one created also. Yeah, Kick's fun, man. I like Kick a lot. I'd like Kick to take the fuck off. Like, I'd like Kick to be the one if you want to be real about it. Kick gives the creators 95% of the funds, folks. YouTube takes 45% of the fun. Like, it's pretty fucking wild. I hit half of my watch time hours on Friday to be able to get subs over there. And again, I'm going to stick with YouTube ultimately. I'm established on here more so now, but I would like to see Kick start edging that out. Let's do that.
about riding around in squad cars with the LA Police Department going to these places on the west side of Hollywood. And and I want to ask you about that. A man wants to watch that or engage in it. He desires it. It is recurring thought processes to get involved in that. It becomes something that he really wants to do, and in a non-medical way, it becomes a compulsion. Although he knows it's wrong. He knows it's wrong. At least his moral conscience says, I shouldn't be doing this.
Yo, greetings, Majestic Unicorn. Welcome in here. Welcome in here. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Going there and viewing it and paying the ticket and making sure that he isn't followed and making sure that his wife is out of town are all acts of his intellect. True?
They all reflect his intellect, his
You know, I'm going to use a true crime pun right now. Guilty as charged, baby, huh?
This is gun country.
I don't know why I hit that one, but it worked. Still worked. There's a lot of new folks in here. A lot of old folks and a lot of folks just hanging. Let's get a few bells. We'll get some mid-church bells rolling. Why the hell not? Huh?
I'm telling you like it is, baby.
We'll do dueling sound effects. That one's from it's almost like a Law and Order one, but I like this one the best. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Murder Church. Some hairs on me. Murder Church.
Ability to delay doing this until his wife is out of town, until he's alone at this place, are an example of his capacity to conform his conduct. If he couldn't conform his conduct, he'd jump on the nearest attractive person.
My understanding then of what you say, that unless you saw him doing everything helter-skelter, no, strike that.
Helter Skelter, Helter Skelter. Sorry.
Even if he did everything helter-skelter, by that I mean without any plan, just doing it whenever, today, tomorrow, yesterday,
Joe.
no fixed way of doing it, no plan, no pre-plan, and all he had medically or psychiatrically was a paraphilia, either partialism, frauderism, or necrophilia, he would still not be suffering from a mental disease as defined to you by the district attorney and is redefined by me. It would not be such
Thanks,
an
Katie.
impairment
Appreciate
of
that.
mind
Glad you're here.
that would affect his mental or emotional processes to such a degree
Get it,
that he
get
would
it,
lack
get it,
the
get it,
substantial
get it,
capacity
get it, get
to
it,
conform
get it,
that
get it,
conduct to
get it,
requirements
get
of
it,
law.
get it.
True?
I don't mean to ask you to repeat that, but the first part of the question was to assume that the paraphilia
Is
Did what?
the ones you said, partialism,
Yes.
frauderism, and necrophilia. That's all he has. And he does everything helter-skelter. Would your opinion be different? If that's all he has, would your opinion as to whether or not he was suffering from a mental disease is defined 5 or 6 times now in the last day and a half, would your opinion be any different than the one that you've delineated?
I don't think that
I like this name though. Oh, am I boring you? Welcome in, bro.
an individual would be doing everything helter-skelter unless there were another mental disorder. If you mean merely a disorganized and sloppy person, now that obviously doesn't require mental disease.
Okay.
But if you mean no planning at all, it probably doesn't occur without something being wrong.
Minimal planning. Only nights, never at the same place, hits people over the head with different objects, different times of the night, different places in town, in and out, does it.
Me
and goes
too.
about
It's
his
a good song.
business. That's the kind of helter-skelter. Would that change your opinion if his mental condition was as you have told us?
If that were the behavior,
some
I
Beatles
expect
now.
to find some abnormalities of the brain to account for his being that impulsive, and those could change my behavior.
Abnormalities of the brain of a physiological nature or a psychiatric nature?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Art with Viv coming through with the $10. Steve, I'm going into lurker mode. My daughter is here from college. Oh, that's awesome. And I need to pay her some attention before she goes back to Georgia. Pass the plate, people. Thank you so much, Viv. Tell your daughter hello for me, first of all. I hit the wrong thing there. Okay. But yeah, that's awesome. And thank you for being here in general, Viv. Love it. Huh?
Give me the loot! Give me the loot!
$10 from Viv. Also, if you're not following Viv, I'm going to give it one more time. You done fucked up. You done fucked up. Thank you, Viv. Appreciate it.
Well, are you suggesting that then if there was some abnormality of the brain that was discernible in Mr. Dahmer and he did everything that he has done here that we know about, that your opinion might be different than it is?
if there were some discernible abnormality of his brain, but all of his behaviors were the same, that wouldn't change my ultimate opinion, because my opinion's based on his behaviors at the time of the crime, including his statements about his mental state at the time of the crime. And as long as he, in fact, had all of the evidence that I've described of appreciating that it was wrong and of being able to conform his conduct, then my opinion would remain the same regardless of what other diagnoses there may be.
We've talked, or you've told us about psychiatric term of compulsion. What's the psychiatric term of obsession when you're obsessed with something? What's the distinction between obsession and compulsion? Can you?
An obsession has to do with an idea, a cognition, actually. And an obsession must be an idea that is recognized by the individual as foreign and alien and
Later, Art,
unwelcome.
with Viv.
It
Love
has
you.
to be seen as
Again,
intruding
follow Viv,
into
everybody.
the person's mind.
You're going to want to be in on that
Want
next
there.
Patreon. I'm telling you right now.
Something that they would rather not have in their mind, as something they regard as senseless to think about, and as something they want to get rid of as a thought.
Doctor, you have taught at the FBI crime laboratory or the behavioral science laboratory.
I've taught at the FBI Academy and at a number of FBI schools around the country. Specifically, my relationship there is with the National Center for the Analysis of Violent Crime at the FBI Academy.
And you have been involved as a testifier in the case of U.S. versus Hinckley.
Yes.
You were hired by the government in that case and testified on behalf of the government.
The government.
That's right.
One of the things that you said in that, in your testimony, not one of the things, you said a lot of things.
No. Hey,
You talked
I know a
about
lot of
choices,
people.
Mr.
I know a lot of people that do not like the Beatles, and it's fine. Okay. No, I'm just joking. It's totally cool that I like the Beatles. I know a lot of people don't dig the Beatles.
Hinckley is
It's really, I mean, it's kind of what you're just into, right? Like, I don't go around just blasting Beatles all the time. I haven't listened to the Beatles in a while, quite frankly, but I do like the Beatles. I've went through Beatle phases, for sure.
evidencing his lack of mental disorder, such as he wouldn't have shot the president if it was raining outside. Am I right? Did you say that? That would have been a choice. I would not do it if it was raining outside. You use that
nice.
kind
Trish
of
is
thing.
in
that
Liverpool.
is correct.
I don't remember that particular example, but if he said that to me, I would have quoted him.
Well, I think I may be wrong, but you also said, you know, that when you are in a position where you are making choices, unless you are psychotic, well, I'll strike that because I'm trying to get to what you say. There were psychiatrists that disagreed with you in that case, were there not?
Yes, there were.
All right. The other notable case was you were a consultant to the FBI in trying to that Tylenol murder cases in Chicago.
Yes, I
See, I like 60s Stones, Katie. Yeah, 60s Rolling Stones when they were a little bit more, and I don't want to say psychedelic, but they're a little bit more trippy anyways. I like some of those old songs. You know, some of the, I mean, Rolling Stones can kick ass anytime, sure, but man, those 60s ones, specifically the early ones, like the first albums by them, is my
I
favorite.
played a small part in that.
You were a consultant to the district attorney for the People versus Robert Chambers.
Yes.
Hey, anybody talking music, you got to go check out the stream, the replay from Kick on Friday, the Frill Friday. And if you haven't, I'll put that in the link too. I think I can do that. It was fun as shit. Like, we were getting down all night. We played a lot of tunes, man. And again, we had played music to while we were watching Friday the 13th clips. Yeah, let me go. I think there's these videos in here. I have one video. Go check this out, folks. Lots of tunage on that thing. And I was taking a lot of requests from you guys. So the next time we hang out and do something like that, you're going to want to pay attention because I put it in YouTube and, you know, I didn't hit everything, of course, because that'd be impossible. Plus we were playing stuff we wanted to, but I'm trying to hit, you know, and also people in the chat, you know, get in there. I felt like a DJ Friday night's what it felt like. It was weird.
Known as the Preppy murder case.
The Preppy murder case and that, did you testify in that?
No, I was on call to testify and just consulted.
Sure. You're a consultant to the Office of the Attorney General of the State of New York in grand jury investigation into the Miss
Hey, good morning.
Wally matter.
Yes.
You're a consultant to the CIA in a case. This I'm reading off your dossier.
Yes, there was a lawsuit against them for alleged brainwashing activities in Canada some years ago.
But you're hired by the federal government.
Correct.
You're a consultant to the District Attorney of Monroe County, New York, in a People versus Shawcross case.
That's right.
Did you testify in that case?
Yes.
On behalf of the state, I trust.
That's right.
You're a consultant to the U.S. Department of Justice in the case of U.S. versus Moody.
Correct.
You testified on behalf of the Department of Justice.
That's right.
The only one I see, at least the notable cases you put down where it would appear on the face that you weren't testifying on behalf
5K?
of the
Holy
government
shit.
is the People versus Bardo
That's awesome.
case.
Of the ones I've
Psychedelic
listed there, it's
jazz,
true.
yes.
Much of the time when I'm consulting on behalf of the defense, I'm not free to reveal that relationship, and so couldn't list it in the CV.
Were you able to give your opinion in the Bardo case?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you have been in a position where you would advise the FBI and their behavioral science unit as to the kind of person they might go out about looking for if in this crime scene analysis business?
From time to time, that has been one of the questions that's been asked of me, though I'm principally asked to consult on matters where the issue is somewhat different.
Morning, Elizabeth.
Which person committed the crime.
Welcome in.
You and Andy
Welcome,
were
everybody.
troubled by the
Thank
fact
you all
that
for hanging
Jeffrey
out.
Dahmer
Appreciate
was
it.
getting
It's
so-
rules.
I don't even know what word to use. He was taking showers with 2 dead bodies in the bathtub that had
Wow.
water and some disinfectant, and leaving that out so he could take a shower and then refilling up the bathtub. That didn't. What did that mean to you?
Well, I think it requires...
It's a watch along, Katie. It's going to be legit. I'm going to be watching films with you guys in real time. Dan will be here for a little bit of time. I'm sure he won't be lasting the entire night. But yeah, and you're saying what horror movies? I haven't released that. I'm going to let that be a surprise live for every single one. I'm not going to release any of the films that I'm going to be showing. Think more of classic B movies. I'm not going to be doing any mainstream Hollywood movies at all. I'm not going to even risk that. I'm going to keep it a little bit. It's still something that I couldn't be doing on YouTube, and but yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be real fun. I'm going to be doing it like, and I was explaining this on Phil Friday. You know, you have Elvira, Joe Bob Briggs, all these people that do these movie hosting things, and I love those. Those are my fucking favorites, quite frankly. But I'm going to be doing it a little bit differently. I'm going to be set up downstairs. I'm going to have a couch actually, just chilling hard. I'm not going to be in a chair like this. While we're watching the films, I'm still going to be chilling live with it. And if I feel like pausing and talking about it real time, I'm going to do it. So that's going to be the slight difference there. We're just going to be literally watching them in real fucking time. So it's going to be cool. As a group, though. But yeah, full films.
Degree of desensitization to be able to do that and not be troubled by it. I think that it's likely that he was drinking very heavily at that time to be able to do that. I think that's the most likely explanation for doing something that weird.
Let me get to this drinking business. Where is the evidence that he, other than his own words, was this
Yo, poke bomb.
excessive drinker? Did you get any information that when he was arrested that he was drunk?
The
Police reports? Was he intoxicated when he was arrested?
may I answer the first question?
Sure, either way.
Yeah, the evidence that Mr. Dahmer was an excessive drinker began, other than his own reports, and his own reports have said he was an excessive drinker since high school. He said that every time he's been arrested for each of the offenses he's been arrested for. He said it every time he's been in any trouble. He said it repeatedly to those who've counseled him, put him on his probation officer, those who've examined him. All the clinicians involved in this case have been told by Mr. Dahmer that he's an excessive drinker. But in addition to that, which reflects his statements largely, Jeff 6 reported that Mr. Dahmer would drink often their senior year in school, that they drank to get drunk and until their noses would get numb. Jeff 6,
you're reading a police report?
that came from a police interview of Jeff
Okay.
6.
All right.
Then in 1977 to 78, Dahmer and Jeff 6 really hung out together, according to 6. They drank beer before football games and went late so as not to pay admission. 6 said that Dahmer did
They caught me
drink a
just
lot,
right, Kimberly.
didn't see it because he'd drink by himself in bathrooms. He'd be intoxicated, but he wouldn't brag about it. He kept his drinking low profile. Then a police report from September 17, 1978. The Ohio State University Police recorded thefts of a watch, a radio, and cash from 3 roommates in room 541 of the Ross house on particular dates. And about 6 weeks later, Mr. Dahmer was recorded by the police reports there as being a possible suspect in the thefts. The reasons that the roommate suspected Dahmer was that he'd had a drinking problem which required money. In October of 1978, the Ohio State University police records noted that Mr. Dahmer lived in room 541 at Ross House and wrote, quote, Mr. Dahmer has an alcohol problem.
I love Sleepaway Camp. Yeah, Sleepaway Camp rules. And that is definitely the vein of the B horror movie that I'm talking about, is exactly what aspiring court reporter Sarah just said right there. Sleepaway Camp. If you haven't seen Sleepaway Camp, that is but you can go lots of different areas, because the one movie that I do have planned, I only have one planned. I need to sit down and really figure it out. But it's a black and white movie from the late 50s, and it's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. But I would call it also a B horror movie. So Sleepaway Camp, getting into the 80s, it gets a little bit more, a little bit more violent. The story is a little bit more wilder. The nudity picks up a lot. But, I mean, hell, that could be on you never know. You're going to have to tune in, guys. You're going to have to tune in to see what movies are played. That's what's going to keep people going. What could be next? Maybe. I don't know.
Quarts of liquor per day. He has been responsible for many acts of destruction. Then a roommate of Mr. Dahmer's at Ohio State, Michael Prochaska.
What year are you talking about?
1978.
Okay.
Said that in the fall quarter of that year, when they shared a bedroom, his watch had been stolen. His friend Mike's radio had been stolen. Dahmer was suspected because he was the only one present during the theft. He said that Mr. Dahmer drank a lot and took liquor bottles and wine to class, that Mr. Dahmer tape recorded lectures and returned to the room to listen to the tape while he got drunk. He drank a couple of fifths a day. He slept in a top bunk and always had trouble getting into bed. And Mr. Prochaska thought that Dahmer was an alcoholic. On one occasion, Mr. Dahmer damaged a bathroom tiled wall by kicking it, which was witnessed by another roommate, Dave Stillwell.
And we had some 1930s nudity on here for one of our streams. I am not T-Pain, and I did not see it coming. I was watching. It was I think the movie was Marijuana, if I'm not mistaken. It was the 420 special. It was one of those propaganda films from the 30s, don't do this crazy evil drug. And these ladies, after they smoked the devil's grass, the devil's lettuce, decided to strip buck-ass naked and go take a swim. And, dude, it was all on there, and it was from YouTube. And I was like, what is happening? What is going on? Are we about to be pulled off for nudity? Jay was here. Jay remembers that. And he was like, what the fuck?
Also, Mr. Prochaska said that Dahmer often donated blood for money to buy alcohol.
Yes.
And in fact,
that's actually the best. I should have just said that. Nudie horror equals B horror, or nudie, yes.
The 3 plasma banks on campus had begun to mark Mr. Dahmer's fingernails so that he could not donate more than once a week. Also, he quoted Mr. Dahmer as saying he had a letter written by a congressman that he used to be able to buy alcohol from liquor stores, even though he was underage. And finally, according to this witness, during the last 2 weeks of the fall quarter, Mr. Dahmer saved his liquor bottles and lined them up on his desk, and there were, as a result, 32 liquor bottles there when his parents came to pick him up.
That 1978?
That was 78.
Okay.
Next is 1980 in the Army. The Army records indicate that on May 10, 1980, an Article 15 was filed because it was reported that Mr. Dahmer, having knowledge of a verbal lawful order issued by a ranking officer in Baumholder, Germany, had wrongfully failed to obey the same by having hard liquor in his billets. And it was alleged also that he was drunk and disorderly in his quarters. As a consequence of that Article 15, he was reduced to the grade of E14, suspended for a time, forfeited $100 for 2 months, and got 15 extra days of duty. In August of 1980, Mr. Dahmer was, according to military records, counseled on an incident that occurred August 2nd when he was picked up by the military police for being under the influence of alcohol. On December 8 of 1980, Mr. Dahmer arrived for work 45 minutes late, so intoxicated that he couldn't stand up, according to military records. On December 22, 1980, Mr. Dahmer was drunk and disorderly during the previous weekend. On December 22 of 1980, he arrived on duty heavily intoxicated. On December 23, 1980, he was counseled because he failed to perform a duty that was assigned to him and was again intoxicated at the time he was counseled. On 3/7/81, still from military records, Mr. Dahmer reported for formation in an improper uniform and was sent back to his room to get in proper uniform. He didn't report back. His area was in a shambles, and he was found there intoxicated. On March 9th of 81, Mr. Dahmer was found to be drinking on duty in the Army, and as a result of that, the commander revoked his access to classified material and discharged him from the Army with an honorable discharge. In 1981, October 1981, records from the Bath Township, Ohio Police Department indicate that Mr. Dahmer was arrested at 8:36 in the evening for disorderly conduct in an incident in which he was intoxicated, drinking from an open container of vodka, and making a scene at the Ramada Inn Hotel, which asked him to leave. He refused. When the police arrived, he was resistant with the police, and they patted him down and handcuffed him, told him to get in the patrol car, and then there was a verbal and perhaps physical altercation between Mr. Dahmer and the police officers, during the course of which he was injured, and that was written up as having fallen out of a chair because he was intoxicated. In the period from the time Mr. Dahmer came to Milwaukee until the time of his arrest, he had, on these charges, he was working primarily at 2 jobs for which I have records, the Plasma Center and the chocolate factory. In both of those capacities, he was eventually terminated for excessive absenteeism and tardiness. And although alcoholism is not the only cause of excessive absenteeism and tardiness, industrial consultants have for many years now used absenteeism and tardiness as one of the best indicators of the rates of alcoholism in the labor force. And it's likely because of that correlation that Mr. Dahmer's excessive absenteeism and tardiness at the times he wasn't committing crimes may be related to his excessive drinking. The dates of his absences at work do not always correspond to the killings, and so there are other occasions when alcoholism may play a role. Of course, Dr. Rosen, who treated him or attempted to, diagnosed him as an alcoholic. 19 The court that sentenced Mr. Dahmer in January of 1989 mandated inpatient or outpatient alcoholism treatment for him. There was an incident that would be difficult to otherwise explain around
We back, baby.
Thanksgiving of 1989.
The talking
Mr. Dahmer
smoke
was on a
returns.
work release, was on a pass for Thanksgiving Day from the House of Corrections when he returned from the House of Corrections, obviously intoxicated, and was written up for an infraction for that. And there are several accounts of what happened there. But only his story describes what happened while he was gone, which is that he was drinking very heavily, became
Word, Tracy.
intoxicated, and during
Thanks for being here.
an alcoholic blackout, submitted himself to be bound by another
Welcome in.
man and regained memory at a time when he was restrained and being sexually tortured by the man. But he returned intoxicated. In May of 1990, Mr. Dahmer entered treatment for alcoholism at DePaul Hospital's outpatient program. And in the course of that, there was reported a family history of alcoholism in his maternal grandfather, though that information probably came from him. Both at the time of his intake at DePaul and at the time of discharge in December 1990, when he stopped going to the outpatient sessions, he was given a principal diagnosis of alcohol dependence. So I think that although the latter part of that depends in part on Mr. Dahmer's statements, the evidence is persuasive enough to me to make the diagnosis of his having an alcohol problem that I called alcohol dependency.
Now, you not only call it alcohol dependency, but you call it mild or moderate.
That's right.
Well,
Yo, good morning, Shannon. Welcome in. Hope Ain't Fear. Hell yeah. There we go. Party's in the house. Let's go, baby. Appreciate that, guys. Seriously. Everybody coming in here, man. Yes. Thank you. Means the fucking world.
that would seem to imply that it wasn't so severe that, well, let me ask this way. Is someone who has mild or moderate alcohol dependence, should they go in for treatment? Mild or moderate?
Well, from the standpoint of what we
Yes, I did,
individual,
actually.
Everyone with alcohol dependence would be better off without it, and some kind of treatment would be useful to them.
Well, let me see if I can't, because I'm almost finished. No one at work ever reported him being drunk on the job. Is that correct?
That's right.
The cops that were there on the SS incident, when they arrested him at work, they didn't find him in a state of intoxication, did they? They
No,
went to work. I mean, I'm not.
There are a lot of
they
codes,
went
though.
to
I get
work.
the
They
question.
didn't find that he had been intoxicated.
I put in the chat, I got to trip my beer, and Katie goes, is that code for something? She's like, this is a really weird environment. Katie, I'm glad you're here. So far, you're doing well. You haven't ran away yet, so that's good.
I don't recall the police reports at the time of his arrests
How about
mentioning that he was intoxicated for any of the crimes.
how about the night Tracy Edwards escaped? Was he intoxicated according to the police?
Good morning, Shelley.
Anything,
Welcome in. Thank you for being here,
mentioned about
too.
Intoxication in the police reports.
How about the police that took the confession from him when he
That
started
one's just
confessing? They didn't
straightforward,
find him
folks.
to be in a state of intoxication, did they?
I didn't see an indication in the police reports of that.
How about the officers that were with him on the Conrack
Oh, shit.
situation? They reported he had been drinking. They didn't say he was intoxicated, did they?
Love
That's
it.
right.
I love
How
it.
about the people in the apartment building? Did they see this man walking around impaired from alcohol?
No.
Okay. A person with a mild or moderate alcohol dependence don't necessarily drink every day, do they?
No, they do not.
And do they always, when they drink
They're cracking me up
themselves
this morning,
into a state
shit.
of intoxication?
No.
Just few things in closing, I believe, doctors, because when I sit down, that's it. I want to ask you about your agreement with the district attorney's office. You were unable to get here to prepare whatever you had to do by the 7th. You needed a few extra days, is that right?
My recollection is that I expressed to Mr. McCann the view that I would welcome extra days.
Okay.
I think it was possible to do it if I had to, but it was going to require more than one all-nighter, and I'd rather avoid it.
First day you were here was what day?
I think it was January 6th.
6th. All right. Now, in that regard, you spent a total of 3 days, 18 hours total time with Mr.
I think it was about 18 hours, yes.
18 hours. Last week I said 48 hours. I was way off.
What was your agreement relative to compensation?
I was told that I would be paid by the county at my customary fees for government work, which is a lower fee than for private work.
Which is lower than private?
Lower than private, yes. Up to a limit of what eventually became a limit of 13 days that would be approved for compensation.
Well, give us a number. What's your rate?
My rate is $3,000 a day.
$3,000 a day?
That's correct.
Damn!
And how much?
3,000 a day, son! God, that was in 1991, 1992. Good Lord! Whoa! I mean, I get it. He's an expert. Good Lord! Wow! I'm blown away by that number.
At an hour.
Yo, good morning, Mandy.
an hour.
What's up?
So you have how many days in? What's your total bill up to now as you sit here?
Well, my bill's going to be all of that because the budget ran out before I came here to testify.
So the budget was what? How much?
The total amount that I'd be authorized to bill for fees would be $39,000.
And you are going to charge more than $39,000?
No, I'm not. I'm
Be dope.
doing my testimony
That'd be
without
dope.
compensation because I agreed to do the case for a fixed amount, and
And the fixed amount now is $39,000.
yes,
Yes.
That's what you're going
Let's
to
go.
be paid, $39,000.
I expect so, yes.
I just want to check with my people and see if there's anything else.
That's crazy. Yeah, he's like, sure. Another day? Well, good Lord, he's bought multiple cars while on the stand here. I'm looking at that inflation. Hold on. 3,000 in 1991. Wow, would be $6,654 today. Imagine sitting for a day and making $6,600. Fuck, deeds. Wow, bro. Get your loot. Huh? Hold on.
Give me the loot! Give me the loot!
Fuck.
Thank you, Dr. D.
Read, Rick.
Yeah,
Doctor, you've
that's
been questioned on cross-examination as to whether as paraphilia alone
Wow.
constitutes such a disease or disorder as to relieve a person of criminal responsibility, and you've talked about that, and basically your position is that it could not. Is that correct? Paraphilia alone, having a paraphilia alone, whether one calls it a disease or a disorder, would not be such
the
as to
wrong business, guys.
cause for relieving a person
Wow.
of criminal responsibility.
That's correct, a paraphilia alone, except when one concocts the most unusual sorts of examples. Someone, because of a paraphilia, might be engaging in an activity which they wouldn't be engaging in otherwise, and coincidentally, during that, do something unlawful and unrelated to the paraphilia. And there might be some way to fancifully construct a scenario, but for all practical purposes, I can't imagine a paraphilia alone serving as a basis for lacking criminal responsibility.
That blew my mind. That's a large number, I feel like.
Sexual activity.
For anyone, right?
That is in fact consistent with the great...
They do that about every time. I don't know if I've seen,
Is that not true?
too many trials that didn't ask that of the experts. It's almost like a dig, right? It's like a, how much are you getting paid to be here today? And then you hear them say that, and you're like, oh, fuck, all
A
right.
different position is Dr.
I mean, it does kind of affect the way a juror thinks,
I was
right?
aware
It's
of
weird.
Who had experience evaluating criminal defendants and considering any issue of sanity, who had ever taken that position, to my knowledge, was Dr.
Send me that
Dahmer,
clip,
at
Mandy.
least in the last
I'll clip
30
it.
years.
I don't remember where it's
Do you know that
from.
this was the first time he ever advanced that theory in a murder case?
I've heard that, yes.
And that Dr. Becker,
Truth.
who is a psychologist, advanced the same theory. She has never testified.
Perfect time to
before
plug an
on
Only
anything
Dan
of
shirt.
any type. Were you
New
aware
to the
that
merch
she had
store.
the same perception as Dr. Berlin?
I've been told that, yes.
Anybody ever needs any help?
So they're
Contact
thinking, at least as far,
Ricky.
May I ask this? Can you think of...
Actually, hold on. I'll
in
get the link to the
cases
actual
you've
shirt.
reviewed,
Here's the
your work as a
actual Only
forensic
Dan shirt.
psychiatrist,
Contact
can you think of
Ricky
any
on the
other
old
murder case where the issue
on the old
advanced
Twitter
as a
machine as well.
defense was
It'd probably help you
only
out.
a paraphilia,
He's
was
gonna be like,
a
why the fuck would you
paraphilia,
say that?
when the issue was criminal responsibility.
He's lurking. He's gonna jump in here. You son of a bitch. Yes, I believe so. Yeah, should be publicly buzzed on
With respect to the
Venmo.
mental
Actually, I can pop it
disease
in
issue.
here because of Mandy.
I read to
I'll
you
save
the
this over
jury heard
here.
it yesterday
Yeah,
afternoon.
just
I put
publicly
the
buzzed
same
on Venmo.
question
Yep.
15 times.
Hell yeah, MJ.
And it basically it read this
Hell
way.
yeah.
Would
Yeah,
you share with
it's
the
publicly
jury your
buzzed on-
findings with respect
Woo!
to whether
What's up,
Mr.
MJ?
Dahmer
Appreciate
possessed
that. That's
substantial
dope as hell.
capacity to appreciate the wrongfulness of his conduct when he killed James Dockstader was the first.
Yeah, the old Venmo, the Cash App, the PayPal, all of that is active. Yeah, all that honestly goes back into the channel and Gypsy. They're fighting for the funds at this point. But I've gotten some cool stuff for the channel though. Yesterday it was from one of the cool things I got for my birthday was a $50 gift card for Amazon, and I just got a memory card for the camera that I'm looking into right now, where I can actually go out, because right now it's just hooked up hard way into the computer, which I just always leave it there because I've been using it, constantly every week. But now, folks, you never know, right? I could be out and about, catching something awesome. You never know.
First thing you listed,
Documentaries, baby,
issues
coming your
bearing
way
on
soon.
cognition, and you
Hitting the
listed
pavement.
Issues bearing on conformity.
Kathy.
And then I asked you,
Gigi
and
popping
what
in
did you
here.
conclude, and you responded. For the first 13, there was no
You see him,
discussion
Jay.
by you or by me of mental disease, was there?
I believe there was not.
I
Oh,
didn't
shit.
think in my question.
Hell yeah,
you didn't put it in.
$15 from MJ. Let me pop that up here right now. Boom. MJ, thank you so much. Seriously, that's absolutely amazing. Dude, that's amazing. Sir, I'm going to give you a little more there. A little dancing with it, MJ. Thank you so much. Absolutely. That's awesome as hell. Appreciate that. Yeah, and Austin is the one that makes the shirts as well, Katie. And on MJ's shirt, I know that Kaylin was asking about that Friday on Feral Friday. Yeah, MJ, that should be coming still. Yeah, I just got to get basically Austin to get that sent out. Phil got his sent out last week, so I'm guessing it should be pretty soon. As soon as I'm able to actually get the tracking and relay that to you, I will be doing that through the Twitter messaging system. But yeah, MJ had won a shirt through a contest that we did here. I believe it was on Feral Friday, and she got one of the tie-dye shirts. But yeah, MJ, don't worry, that thing is still coming. And thank you again. That's amazing.
Answer. Let me ask this. Considering you based your opinions, is it not clear, on your examinations, your extensive 18-hour examinations of the defendant, Mr. Dahmer, the voluminous records that you obviously have very carefully gone over, those were the bases for your opinion. Is that correct?
Oh, shit.
These are based on everything
Let me look, Charlotte. Let me look.
Does it alter it at all? Does your opinion change at all? We'll speak about the last two counts later. Does your opinion change at all?
Oh, shit, Charlotte coming through with $15. Wow, Charlotte, hold on.
Sober enough
Well, you gotta
to know what I'm doing, and I'm drunk enough to really
I think you
enjoy
appreciate
doing
that
it.
as well. Bam! 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 Damn, coming through, folks. Thank y'all so much. That's amazing. Seriously, Charlotte. Boom. Represent. Coming through.
Does it
That's
change
awesome.
at all whether or not we call the paraphilias a mental disease or we say it's not a mental disease? Does that change your opinion at all?
You guys are awesome.
It doesn't change my opinion on
Craziness.
whether he appreciated the wrongfulness of his conduct or whether he could conform his conduct, because my opinion on those issues isn't based on a consideration of diagnosis or what may be wrong with him, but rather on
I'm gonna be in them
concerning
DMs.
the behavior at the time of the crimes, insofar as it can be read from the kinds of evidence I've been relying on, including Mr. Dahmer's statements.
With respect to the last two counts, because the alcohol situation had changed slightly, or changed some, you pointed that out. But just to make it clear to the jury, with respect to the last two counts, keeping in mind the observations you made, the records you reviewed, and so on, do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty as to whether or not Mr. Dahmer, at the time of the commission of the deaths of Oliver Lacey and Joseph Bradefoff, had the capacity to substantial capacity to appreciate the wrongfulness of his conduct and to conform his conduct to the requirements of the law?
I do.
And what is that opinion?
That he did.
Now, with respect to the issue of Mr. Edwards, Tracy Edwards, you were provided, as part of the material sent from my office, you were provided a police report with respect to the statement of Tracy Edwards on the morning that Mr. Dahmer was arrested. Is that correct?
Yes.
You've looked at a lot of police reports in your career, have you not? I mean, many hundreds, maybe thousands. Is that true?
Yes, it is.
Would it be safe to say that that was a 6-page, typed, double-spaced interview report of Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Did it look to you like a sloppy, quick, rushed job as an interview of Mr. Edwards?
Not at all.
Did that interview contain any statement about Dahmer rocking and chanting the morning in the experience that Mr. Edwards had with him?
No, it didn't.
Right,
And you've come in
T-Pain.
your experience when people appear on the Geraldo show and on the Donahue show, you've come to have a more reserved perception of their reliability after that. Would that be accurate?
Depending on what the topic is and what's happened there, I've come to think that it can alter one's recollections and how one tells a story.
In terms of the increase in the number of homicides over a particular period of time, in your review of serial killings, is that rather typical? That as a serial killer develops the skill, desensitizes himself, sets up the right situation, that the number of serial killings tends to rise over a given framework of time?
Yes.
And is that consistent with your observations of Mr. Dahmer?
Yes, it is.
And in terms of, can one conclude, looking at that fact alone, can one conclude that the individual...
Love it. MJ's on fire this morning.
At that issue?
Came in, baby.
No one can conclude that the individual must be a serial killer.
That's awesome.
And the fact that a person can continue to get away with it and use cunning to do it and planning to do it is all consistent with in terms of responsibility for it. Would that be accurate?
Yes, it is.
You've testified that the paraphilia of the defendant did not include killing. Is that correct?
That's right.
And we've talked about, and that in fact, every doctor has been consistent in saying that he did not draw pleasure in that killing. Is that correct as far as you know?
As far as I know.
I'm going to show this off real quick just because it's maybe my favorite yet that Keystone has done on Twitter, guys. And I know everyone has probably seen this, but holy shit. Look at this fucking picture. Look at this shit, dude. You have fucking McCann who's talking right now. Look at this. hanging out. It took me a second to see him. Got Joe Jackalone hanging out. Jay having the time of his fucking life, hanging out with the snake. Me looking very cautious, actually, of this one. Bob looks hypnotized back here. Chris slapping the hell out of that trampoline. Tambourine, excuse me, high as fuck. And Dan does not look happy. He looks like he would rather not be here hanging out with snakes. What the fuck, dude? I had to put that one over, man. Dude.
No, it is.
Was the defendant the sexual desire of the defendant had? That sexual desire was not for killing, was it?
Correct, it was not.
And the information that you have available to you was that
crazy.
That indeed, he, even after turning away after the Tuomi incident, where he seemed to embrace what he was doing, that even when he undertook to kill, he would...
Katie, welcome in here. Who the fuck ain't talking to you? You're hilarious. You've been hilarious this morning. Good Lord. We're happy to have you. And we got the best chatters, the best crew over here. If you're not following Jay in chat there, pop his name out there. I'll pop his link in here as well. Make sure you follow my man. He streams all week long. And we're going to be on his show Thursday. So if you're enjoying this, you're going to absolutely enjoy him. So, yeah, thanks for being in here. You done found yourself a home. Didn't even know it. You're going to be watching B movies? Huh? I mean, Jay just hit 6K also, dude. That's fucking dope. Right here. Boom. Make sure you hit that one. Be having a good old time, Katie. Love it, man. I love it when I read messages like that.
Is that correct?
I think we've gone a little too far in the leading problem, so I'm going to object.
That even after the Tuomi...
Yeah, I saw Joe back there.
When he decided that...
He was hiding.
He made certain decisions we talked about. Is that correct?
Yes.
And even after that, he still felt inhibitions at the time he undertook to commit the murders. Is that correct? At least in some of the cases he said that.
Yes, he said he needed to overcome the inhibitions with alcohol.
Right. With respect to the delusions, alleged delusions, particularly weighting with the skulls and so on.
I do like Jake the Snake Roberts.
Are you aware that...
We're going to go down a wrestling avenue just for a second because you said Jake the Snake Roberts, say no to globalism. Jake the Snake Roberts is a great wrestler. I really like Jake the Snake Roberts. So Jake the Snake Roberts, anybody that doesn't know, he had like a terrible drug problem, alcohol, he basically the last time he was really on television as a wrestler was in like 1990, early part of 1997. Really 1996 was his last real run on television. So as you can imagine, I'm 10 years old in 1996. His real days was when I was a young child. He made such an impression on me as a child watching him when I was young. Any time in professional wrestling, even though he had all these issues, he's better now, but he had all these issues and there was no way he was ever going to be showing back up during the time frame that I'm talking about when I was younger watching wrestling. But no matter when they said, wrestling fans will get this if you don't, you might not understand this, but they always do a mystery guy's going to be there. Excuse me. Who's going to show up? You never know who might pop in, who might show up tonight. And sometimes they tease it hard. They'll give you like a mystery guy, like, in the little graphic, like it just, literally like a shadow. Like, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? I didn't care. All right. I didn't care if it was impossible. Every single time, my guess was Jake the Snake Roberts. Okay. And every once in a while it was Jake. Like very seldom. But when it was, could you imagine? I fucking freaked out, bro. Like,
both Dr. Becker and Dr. Berlin considered that in terms of whether or not he was psychotic.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to hear.
And determined that he was not psychotic and this was not delusional thinking. Are you aware of that?
Yes, I am.
That apparently only one psychiatrist, Dr. Wallstrom, took that position. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Are you aware that neither of the court-appointed experts took the position that he was delusional?
That's my understanding.
Are you aware that Dr. Fosdell did not take the position, who also discussed the temple, that indicated delusional thinking?
I am aware of that.
With respect to the undertaking of work with the zombie, the
He's about to turn on us, ain't you?
operation, to be safe to say that was a vicious thing to do?
Well, I think now we're getting a little far afield. I was objective.
Yeah, she's like, wait, you guys aren't trolling me? Hey, I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of shit bags on YouTube, okay? I think a lot of us have seen that throughout time, and I'm sorry if you've only seen that, but yeah, you've entered a decent portion of the interwebs where we get rid of those people fairly quickly, so.
Stipulated was vicious.
In terms, did you,
Yes.
in your discussions with the defendant, perform any perception of what value he put on human life?
Which line, Charlotte?
I don't think I have any basis for an expert opinion on that.
Doodlebug
I
fart
think
in the
the
motherfucking
facts speak for
house.
themselves.
Doodlebug fart in the motherfucking house.
Speaks louder than
Welcome.
anything he
Good
would
morning.
have said. Is that correct?
Counsel, you just said it, you don't have to object. That's your decision.
So you just cite the, fine. With respect to Conorak, synthesymphone, are you aware that, I don't know if you are or not, that the police...
Yeah, Katie, I'm going to give you one of those, actually, Mr. Anna.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Boom. All right. Katie Pilla, welcome. Welcome, as Mandy said, to the light, to the light side of YouTube, you know.
Officer Balcerzak testified that he turned to the crowd. He said that described the location of the people and said out to the
Pumped
crowd,
up this morning.
does anyone know
Pumped
this
up.
man? In speaking of Conorak synthesymphone, and that no one answered that they knew him or not.
I'm going to object to the form of that question.
Well, I'm asking if he was aware of that testimony or aware of that information. Are you aware of that, sir?
Yes, I think I alluded to it in my own testimony.
Are you aware that at that time, the defendant was present and would have been able to observe that no one responded, that they knew who the man was? Were you aware of that?
Yes.
So that when he returned to his dwelling...
Oh, good morning, Cammie.
no one
Welcome
had
in.
recognized him, apparently, and the only name the police had was John Hamung. Do you think that may have influenced what he did with respect to Mr. Synthesymphone, that information?
Counsel is leading just way out.
Nice. There we go. Pokemon found us through the Kerry Rawson interview. That's awesome.
You were aware that he
It's
had
one of our
that
best
information
interviews.
at the time that he returned to the apartment?
Quite frankly.
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
You've indicated that
I did like
the
Gangrel.
sexual urges that he had were the same, the object was different, but
Like
were
the
of the
song.
same level that other normal people have. Is that correct?
The object was different, but the quality of those urges is no different in the paraphilias than it is in normal individuals. who
That's
may
Murder
vary
Church, yeah,
in the
in a nutshell.
intensity of their urges and the
Is this
frequency of
reality?
their urges.
In
Can
terms
you make
the
fun of
Regetek
that?
Incident, you've indicated that you believe, as I recollect, you believe that Flowers would have been slain had the grandmother not been there. What was your opinion with respect to the LP incident? Did you form an opinion on that, whether the defendant would have proceeded to slay him or not, if you did form an opinion? I'm sorry, you did, the LP incident, I'm sorry. Counsel did not touch, I believe, well, you did on the LP incident, did not touch on the Somsack synthesymphone incident.
That would be a good review.
Not.
Let me clip
I will
that.
not touch on it. All right, I will not touch on it. Again, in terms of the word compulsion that comes up again, you have repeatedly said, correct me if I'm wrong,
That's
that
awesome.
is a sexual urge that is being discussed when the defendant uses that term compulsion. Would that be accurate?
Every time Mr. Dahmer used the word compulsion in police reports or in things quoted in police reports or the psychiatric exams, I believe he was referring to his sexual urges. I don't think he ever used that term to refer to his desire to drink or to anything else. And I don't think he has ever had any of the behaviors that medically would be considered a compulsion.
So he's not had medically what would be considered a compulsion, and in the terms of the desires you know from the paraphilia, those desires would be sexual desires. Would that be accurate?
Yes.
Are you familiar with some of the writings of Seymour Halleck, a psychiatrist?
Yes, I
And
am.
he is a respected forensic psychiatrist, is that correct?
Dr. Halleck's respected in psychiatry and law generally and as a general psychiatrist.
I have not put this question to you before, but are you aware whether he's written any warnings to clinicians that are working as clinicians in the field to be on the alert to being overly sympathetic to the patients that they treat or patients with whom they work?
I know that he has so warned.
In terms of alcohol, a person that is planning to get a drink,
Nice.
is killing a man to get a drink a part of alcoholism in terms of, let me withdraw the question. Is there a difference between
He's
an
out here tripping
alcoholic
balls right now watching Murder
thinking
Church,
about
bro.
getting a drink and an alcoholic planning to kill a man?
Of course.
I can't. Not 1-1, Mandy. Oh, there we go. Karen B coming through. Mandy, do you put, is that something you do? Oh my God.
Defendant's paraphilia does not have to do with killing people. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
Whew.
Thank you, Doctor.
Mr. Boyle?
No, I just one additional question. Just so the jury understands, when you say
Counting
you've
down,
exhausted
boys.
the budget, you've put in more hours and you're not getting paid for it. Is that correct?
That's true.
And due to professional commitment, despite that, you continued to prepare for this case and to appear here. Is that true?
Yes.
Knowing you wouldn't be compensated for the extra work.
Right.
Thank you.
Mr. Boyle?
I have no question.
You may step down, Doctor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Wow.
Any further witnesses for this state?
None, Your Honor. The state rests.
Mr. Boyle, any rebuttal testimony?
So long with this gentleman.
I'll have a statement for the record outside the presence of the jury at an appropriate time.
Okay.
Make sure that
Hey, thanks for being here, Tom. Appreciate it, brother.
I wanted to reserve
Have a good day,
you
man.
can do that.
Okay. Jury is excused.
A gypsy howling out here.
Be seated, please.
Yeah, we are in the closing arguments
Statement to make for the record.
phase, but
I think I need that door closed. I have always keeping in mind that matters are reviewed and people ask questions as to the why did you do this and the why didn't you do that. I think it's necessary for me to tell the court that at some juncture, while I was preparing this case, I thought very hard and long about calling Mr. Dahmer to the witness stand. I talked to him about it on a number of occasions. It was going to be his decision, not mine. My experience as a lawyer in these kinds of cases is I don't ever remember anyone ever calling a defendant in the second phase. I remember I tried a man who killed a Milwaukee policeman, Alvin Perdaman, but that was on the first phase. I mean, at that time it wasn't non-bifurcated, and the issue then was the same then. I mean, you got into the insanity part in the only phase before the jury. The question of
No
calling
test,
Mr.
Bunny.
Dahmer or not calling Mr. Dahmer was a very, very serious problem, because on the one hand I wanted to, on the other hand I thought that Mr. McCann's cross-examination of Mr. Dahmer would be most detrimental to Mr. Dahmer for a number of reasons, and I made some tentative decisions. Talking to my doctors, one of them incidentally said, you know, maybe you might consider doing that. And I said, I've been thinking about it. Mr. Dahmer was never anxious to talk, never anxious to testify, but he indicated to me that he would if I asked him to and thought it was necessary, but he was kind of hoping that he wouldn't have to. It was decided that he would not. That was his decision to make, and it was only his decision to make. I might indicate to the court that in the course of my making that decision, I, as part of my work product, which is completely covered by Mr. Dahmer's privilege, did a videotape of about 33 minutes talking about things other than the case, talking about, sports and activities of that nature. And I'm of the opinion that, and I had his permission to use that to find out whether or not...
No, I don't think this is officially closing at Charlotte.
Positive or negative.
Just Boyle clarifying some stuff.
I did that because I really thought that this was probably the most important decision I'd have to make in the case. And I've told Mr. Dahmer, and I've said it on the tape itself, that it remains with me and no one else, unless otherwise changed by Mr. Dahmer in the future. I had his permission, and that likewise is on that tape, which I have in my possession, to have a couple of, to use my own discretion on the viewing of it, to help me make what I considered to be a problematical decision. When all is said and done, Your Honor, Mr. Dahmer decided that he did not want to testify. I still had that avenue open, even in rebuttal, if I chose to suggest to Mr. Dahmer that he change his opinion and exercise it. And I think it's very necessary for me to put this on the record so that someone someday might say that Mr. Dahmer could have helped himself by testifying, or so often today us lawyers are so concerned about second guessers that we have to somehow or another cover ourselves to make sure we're doing the right thing. I'm certainly not doing it for that reason. I could care less about that. I'm confident in my decision, but I think I owe it to this court and to this record to make the statement I've just made, and I would ask you to make inquiry of Mr. Dahmer of whether or not he agrees with everything that I've said.
Mr. Dahmer, do you agree with what your attorney has just told the court?
Yes, I agree.
And with that, Your Honor, I think we only have to move in exhibits and figure out where we go from here.
The court expects that we do have to complete that business on the motions. I think we've pretty much agreed virtually nothing will go to the jury. But I do wish to make a motion. I'm not going to tie up the court at length. I don't know whether the court wishes me to make it now or make it tomorrow morning. It will be brief. The court knows what it is, probably knows how you're going to rule on it, but it is something that I do wish to make just to preserve the record. Do you wish me to make it now, or do you wish it?
Go ahead.
All right. If it please the court, assuming that all the exhibits have been filed, I would ask the court to grant judgment in favor of the state on the basis that the defense has wholly failed to move forward with its burden of proof by the greater weight to reasonable certainty by the greater weight of credible evidence, that it could not, as a matter of law, the jury verdict could not come back in that fashion as a matter of law. That this is clearly a creative and innovative and unique type of defense, and I would urge the court, because the hour is late and I anticipate what the court's ruling will be, I would move for judgment, directed verdict, a non-suit of the defendant in this case, and if the court is not inclined to rule on it at this time, at least to take it to reserve judgment on it until such time as a verdict may be returned by the jury.
I'm going to take the motion under advisement, and I'll entertain argument if it becomes necessary.
I can't even speak about the fact that it's innovative. You see, one of the problems is I'm being accused of innovative defenses. I have doctors telling me what it is, and I must follow that. I don't have choices.
Well, I think we've case law that indicates it's an appropriate motion. I don't think it's innovative. Whether or not the court is the court's not about to grant it, obviously.
Yes, and I just, so the court knows, this is not, and no disparaging remark to Mr. Boyle, that is to his credit, not to...
What I would...
Judge, one final thing. I move for a directed verdict. Pursuant to the rules.
Motion taken under advisement. Now, what I would like to do is, first of all, we have a matter of verdicts and instructions to work out. Let's see, where am I?
Oh, shit. Also, we just got $10 from Amber. Amber, thank you very much. Gonna hit you with this. Damn, coming through the apps today. I do like to see that. The apps kill it. That's amazing. Wow. Give me some more. Everybody hanging out, baby. Everybody hanging out. Huh?
Son of a bitch!
We doing a damn thing. Doing a damn thing.
Dan's a fantastic man.
Dan is a fantastic man. Love you guys so much. Everybody hanging and banging. We still have a little bit of this clip left as well, and we still have a little bit more of Murder Church, but I did just want to stop for a second and say thanks, everybody, for being here. Appreciate the hell out of it. Yeah, hell yeah.
There it is. I would like to read to you what what we're proposing as a special verdict, and it would be the same verdict for each of the counts. The only language that would change would be the reference to the count.
Oh, shit. Oh, if MJ's still hanging out here, she's had a little bit more of a message here. Passing the plate where you can keep the money. It's MJ, P.S. I was named after a Beatles song. Hell yeah, that's awesome, MJ. Yeah, hopefully you're still hanging out. Yeah, okay, yeah. Nice. Still she's hanging out. Holly Berry doesn't make it in this early. And Cabo, I don't know where the hell Cabo's at. You're going to have to holler at her.
Question 1 would read, at the time the crime was committed in count 1 of the information, did the defendant, Jeffrey L. Dahmer,
this
have
rules.
mental disease? There'd be a place
Oh,
for an
unbelievable,
answer,
honestly.
asking for a yes or no. Question 2. If you've answered question number 1 yes, then answer this question. As a result of the mental disease as to count 1 in the information, did the defendant lack substantial capacity either to appreciate the wrongfulness of his conduct or to conform his conduct to the requirements of law? And again, a place for an answer. There would be provision for dissenting jurors to indicate who they are.
Insert the name of
Okay, there's some other stuff going on here in the old Ko-Fi thing. I'm not used to looking at this. So this one just says Ko-Fi supporter. It doesn't have a name, but it says happy birthday, Steve. No, I think that one's from Friday night. Okay, no, the new one in here is from Amber. Law Nerd Amber came through on the old Ko-Fi here. Hell yeah. Wow, yeah, $10. Holy shit, Amber. Unbelievable. Gonna get a little bit. Fuck. That's amazing.
Give me the loot! Give me the loot!
I'm a bad man. Money, don't you worry. Wow, crazy. Yeah, I'm not used to looking at the apps. I need to post those more often in here, honestly. And I appreciate it always, no matter where it comes from. But wow, yeah, that's cool as hell. Y'all are nuts. I'm trying to make sure I'm not missing any here. If I see any more coming through, I will let you know. Wow.
Respect in each respective count, the name of the victim.
We could do that.
I have a serious problem with the jury.
I'm the worst. Actually, I just updated my link tree last night. I'm trying to get my shit together.
The wrongfulness of his conduct and have a separate yes or no to conforming conduct to the requirements of law. And I would ask that that be done because in this case, it is unique that we have never, ever supported that.
Got some new links on the link tree.
But the fact that they're together might cause a problem with how to answer that question because an affirmative answer or a negative answer would seem to apply to both. So I would ask the court to exercise its discretion.
That's got a lot of stuff on it now.
And separate them. I think you got to separate them because I think they could still say, well, I think
Yes.
there's enough to say they didn't know the difference between right and wrong. In spite of the fact we'll tell them that we're not even on that. But I think you have to do that, John. Otherwise, we've got a confusing verdict.
That's the way the questions are framed are exactly the way they're set forth in the instructions.
I understand that, but that's because that's always an issue. I mean, I don't know, maybe the court knows better than I, where a lawyer got up and said, we're giving in on that prong. Don't consider it. But if they were to answer it yes, they would also be answering yes to that prong.
No.
They would be saying it. That's
a good way to put
Accept
it.
the question that's presented to them.
Then let me hear the question again.
If you've answered question number 1 yes, then answer this question. As a result of the mental disease as to count 1 in the information, did the defendant lack substantial capacity either to appreciate the wrongfulness of his conduct or to conform his conduct to the requirements of law? If either one is yes, then yes is the answer. And certainly You have the ability to explain that in your arguments.
I still would rather have them split, but since you've ruled, I'll know how to handle it.
The court's going to follow the...
I think you're right, Bonnie. I just came to this one. I think extra bells are in order. I think they are. I think they're called for this morning. It's been a special morning. Every murder church feels special, I think. Man, everybody always coming through. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, folks. And extra bells. That might be the third chiming of the bells this morning. Unprecedented bells.
The instructions as they're set forth in form instruction. Okay.
Yes.
As to the instructions, I'm going to tell you what I have here. And Mr. Boyle first, and then Mr. McCann can make any suggestions that you have as to additions or deletions. I have from the standard criminal instructions number 100. I then will read each count in the information. At the conclusion of that, I will make the statement that the defendant, Jeffrey Dahmer, has been found guilty of every count in the information. Next, I have standard criminal instruction 605. I've made a couple of changes in terms of singular to plural because this is multiple counts. But I have stricken the last paragraph from 605 and inserted civil instruction 180, which is the civil instruction regarding a 5-6 verdict.
Paragraph, that being just that last sentence.
That's right. It's a one-sentence paragraph.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
I felt it was better to give the more comprehensive instruction, which is readily available in our civil instruction. So, I've got 145 here, information, not evidence. I don't know that it's particularly meaningful here, but if nobody wants it, I won't give it. I think instructions are better if they're shorter rather than longer. Does anybody want that? 140?
Well, if you're gonna read all of it, you're gonna read it, aren't you? No, you don't have to put that in. I'll wait.
147, improper questions. 150, stricken testimony. 157, remarks of counsel. 160, arguments of counsel. 190, weight of evidence. 195, jurors' knowledge. 640, which is the special instruction on expert witnesses in this type of a situation. And that includes some of the other materials that were asked for in terms of expert witness testimony. I have civil instruction 265, which is the expert.
I think this is pretty useless, quite frankly, right now, but still got like 15 minutes of him just kind of bullshitting here. I know, that's where I'm at. Like, I feel like we don't need this next part. We go straight to closing, but you never know, I guess.
201
you don't want to skip anything. You've come this damn far.
I assume what we're talking about is the several witnesses who were called to describe their contacts with Mr. Dahmer. Let me tell you how I've worded it in here. I've filled in a few blanks. There are, first, you have the general rule is that witnesses may testify only to facts known to them. There are exceptions to this rule, and in this case, several witnesses were allowed to give their opinion as to Jeffrey Dahmer's mental condition at the time they had contact with him.
I don't think I can speed it up on here. I'm on
standard instruction.
I'm on the Court TV's player on their website.
215, objections of counsel. And
You want
evidence
to jump
received
past
over
this?
objection.
I think it's probably literally just the judge bullshitting. The next part that we really need, we could probably get through the first part. We can see how long it is the closing arguments, it looks like, from Boyle here. And it is, well, it's an hour 16. Do you guys want to go ahead and jump to the first part of closing? And then it'll be, 2 weeks before we get to the second part with McCain here, because next week Murder Church is canceled. You guys want to do that? Is it like it's going to be too much of a spoiler, right? Looks like everybody's pretty cool with it. I got to skip forward. I got a bit, Megsy's who I'm looking at. I know Megsy. I would look to her. Megsy, do you want to skip forward a little bit? Do you think this is a kind of a bullshit part? We're looking at it, baby. Jump, jump, jump. Dee-dee-dee-dee, jump, jump, jump. All right, let's go to the first part of the closing for the defense here. Sweet. Sweet. We'll do it.
For Milwaukee County is now in session. The Honorable Lawrence C. Graham Jr. presiding. Silence is commanded. You may be seated.
Jumping.
Jurors, at the beginning of the trial,
It's like the next day, too. It looks like they've changed clothes. At least Boyle did.
we gave the lawyers an opportunity to speak to you, making an opening statement where they presented you with an outline of what they thought the evidence would show. Now we've heard all the testimony in the case, and the lawyers again will have a chance to speak to you to make a closing statement, or sometimes it's called a final argument, in which they will argue to you.
Oh, Katie's from the future also.
The evidence in this case is proved. Now, we followed a certain order throughout the trial, which is a little different than what we usually have, and that is the defendant goes first and then followed by the state. We continue to follow that order, so Mr. Boyle has the opportunity of making the first closing statement.
Please, the court, Mr. McCann and his staff, and my staff, and ladies and gentlemen of the jury. We had, at the close of business yesterday, agreed to some time
Look at that tie.
as to how long we would
That
take.
tie screams the early 90s, late 80s.
I pledge to you that I will not speak 1 minute longer than I feel I have to. I ask you to give to me, as I know you will, for the next 45 to 50 minutes, your undivided attention. There's a lot of distractions in the courtroom, and there's a lot of reasons we look away. That doesn't mean you're not listening, I understand that, but the next exercise that I do in this courtroom has the imprimatur. It is the most important thing that's going to happen in many of our lives. See, we all do
Good morning.
things as they affect us.
Drink a
We
snaps.
make decisions about ourselves. Sometimes as parents or
Austin,
spouses,
good morning.
we help make decisions on others.
Swallow.
Sometimes we make decisions where our kids go to school,
Welcome.
what kind of car they drive, when they can go out. But rarely if ever, do we ever make decisions that affect another human being's life.
Right.
And we're about to do that. But I'm not going to do that. You are, because I'm finished. I had a lot of things that I wanted to do at the start of this case, and I think every one of them has been achieved. I have a concept of the system of justice that may be different than other lawyers, but I find myself serving a lot of different roles. First of all, every lawyer is an officer of the court, and that means that at all times he must respect and honor that court, whether he agrees with the judge or doesn't agree with the judge. It's like in the military, you respect the uniform, not necessarily the person wearing it. In the system of justice, you respect the court. And that's because that's the only way the system can function. The other goal that I feel as a lawyer is as an advocate of my client's cause.
Nice.
Not because it's something that I'm paid to do or hired to do. It's because I've taken an oath to do it. It's that simple. It's my oath. It's my life to be an advocate for my client's cause. And that doesn't mean to make up a cause. That means to take a cause and to allow 12 people to make a decision on whether or not I did what I was supposed to do in a court of law. So therefore, even though my primary function is an advocate of my client and as an officer of the court, I serve another role. And my other role is to help you do the toughest thing that you're ever going to do in your life, and that is to make a tough decision. And if I don't do that, then I'm not doing my job for anyone. And this is not to patronize, this is not to get into some good graces with you, this is just a fact. Jeffrey Dahmer is here having pled guilty to 15 murders. Jeffrey Dahmer is here because certain doctors indicated that he was insane at the time he committed the offenses. Now, we're going to use a lot of words. We're going to use a lot of words because a lot of the words say the same thing, but we know what the definition of insanity is in the state of Wisconsin, and you probably can recite it as well as any lawyer who's ever studied law, and that is whether or not a person at a given moment in time was suffering from a mental disease, and as a result of that mental disease, that person lacked substantial capacity to conform his conduct to requirements of law or appreciate the wrongfulness of his conduct. Now, the reason for that is clear, because some people can conform but can't appreciate, and some people can't appreciate but maybe can't conform. There is no wrongfulness of the conduct issue here. It has been admitted, it has been not fought, it has been accepted that I have not been able to sustain my burden of proof from the moment this trial started on the question of whether or not he appreciated right from wrong. He did. So I'm here to talk to you about whether or not this mental disease that we have proffered was met to a reasonable degree of certainty by the greater weight of the credible evidence. And if I have shown that, and I don't mean I like I'm on an ego trip, my job is, if I have achieved that, then the next question is, as a result of that mental disease, did he lack substantial capacity to conform his conduct to the requirements of law? And I submit to you that's the only question that you're going to have to wrestle with, because the mental disease was proven to a reasonable certainty by the greater weight of the credible evidence. So in preparing myself for what I was going to do here today, I have made a lot of decisions, one of which is I'm not going to bore you to death by telling you 10,000 times from Sunday what you already know.
Get your mimosa in the chat.
Focus on Jeffrey Dahmer as a human being, not for sympathy. He deserves absolutely no sympathy unless he was mentally ill. None. But if he was a product of a mental disease, then he deserves sympathy in the same way that a person who has a physical problem or disease deserves sympathy. But this is not a case of sympathy. This is a case of fact. And I have accepted that burden to prove to you that he was mentally diseased. The definition in the jury instructions is not something that's just made up. This
Caroline,
is the greatest minds in the
coming
state
through right
said,
now. Caroline, good morning, Caroline.
Court of Appeals and the Supreme
I'll be right
Court,
back.
we accept
We'll be
a
right back.
person as being mentally diseased when he has an impairment of the mind, whether enduring or transitory, that affects his mental and emotional processes. And if you say, you know what, he was mentally diseased, and you agree to that by the numbers that you have to pursuant to law, then you go into the question of the conformity. So because I'm not going to stress a lot of facts, it's because I don't think they need to be stressed, except hopefully as I've done it to aid you. We have all taken oaths. I asked the question in voir dire. We are all exactly the same as we stand here today, having taken a solemn oath to see that the ends of justice are done. And none of us will violate that. That I'm certain of. None of us are going to say, I'm going to make my decision on the basis of what's going to be perceived later. I am so convinced that we are able in this country of ours to get jurors to call it the way they see it, because when you take the oath, that's what you say you're going to do, and you're putting other things in consideration. You know, we got a lot of a la carte Americans in this country. They want to rewrite the Constitution. They really want to rewrite the Declaration of Independence. They want to tell you, well, in this kind of a case, forget justice. Come on, he killed all these people, forget it. It's all over with. He doesn't deserve the time of day. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. They're boat people, that's what they are. They should get on boats and get out of here and go live in a country where that kind of stuff goes on. It doesn't go on in America, because we live in a country where we all are entitled to liberty and justice. And justice is met by your verdict. Not by what I think, not by what Mr. McCann thinks, not by what these 7 doctors think or the judge thinks. It's what you think. That's what justice is. And whichever way you call it, it's justice. As long as we subscribe to the oath that we took. Now, the reason I say 7 doctors is because I believe that you have heard from such star professionals. Each and every one of these men and one woman that came in here to talk to you put their whole person on the line to do what? Because they wanted to volunteer to come in on this big serial murder case?
Oh yeah, bro.
Nonsense. You see, justice in finite terms is decided by judges and courts and juries. Justice in the infinite term is decided by our Maker, our Creator. And we subscribe to the Christian Judeo philosophy, which says that every human being will be judged someday. And those of us who run from our responsibilities are not going to be judged too well. I don't know how badly. But my responsibility, the day I said I'm a lawyer, was to be his lawyer. Just as Mr. McCann, who I have the greatest respect for, says that as the sworn advocate of the people, I'm going to prove you're wrong, Boyle, that you didn't prove it. And you folks will be the ones who make the decision. Milwaukee and the harm that has been caused to these 17 people, 15 of whom died in this city, has been such a reprehensible concept that it appears as though Milwaukee is now a laughable place. Nonsense. We have spotlighted Milwaukee as the best place to get the fairest trial. We have cleansed that image, and your verdict will do it no matter what your verdict is. You didn't have any poppycock professionals coming in here with poppycock ideas. You had great
poppycock ideas
whose lives are either devoted to treating people who are sick or to try and helping other people understand what that sickness means. So we stand here proud.
Holy shit. Katie, welcome to being a member here at Publicly Buzzed. And thank you, Hope Ain't Fear. Bam, for giving that son of a bitch out. Yes.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Boom. And what are we doing? We give them some beers. Katie, there's 3 magnificent pours for you right now. Beers in the chat for the newly membered up Publicly Buzzed member Katie. Holy shit, that's awesome. And again, can't thank Hope Ain't Fear enough. An absolute G who's been hanging around these parts for many, many weeks now, maybe even months at this point. Love you. Thank you so much. That's absolutely amazing. But I love that Katie got it because she's been in here. She's new. She's just hanging out. She's like, what the fuck have I walked into? And now you've been membered up.
The tragedy that has happened in order to make sure that Milwaukee is a place where justice is meted out, whatever your verdict is. And that will be achieved. And that I'm not concerned about. And if anyone in the world suggests that for one moment, I don't really mean it when I say I feel sympathy for the victims and the families of the victims, then I don't have to listen to anybody who would make that statement, because I do. Mr. Dahmer pled guilty.
All them beers. A little something, something.
For 60
little tornadoes.
hours.
If you know what I'm saying.
To cleanse himself in the way he thought he could for all the harm and all of the evil that he has done.
That's awesome.
He doesn't deserve credit for that, except it's a fact. What more could he have done after his arrest? So that's a part of the past. We look to the present, and the present is whether or not he was mentally ill. His family has been harmed. Anyone who knew him has been harmed. People who came across him have been harmed. Policemen have been harmed. Probation officers have been harmed. Everybody's been harmed because he was able to fool them. He had a paraphilia that he didn't choose, that he discovered.
Again, you guys are going to want to be subbed up on Kick. I'm pretty sure it's an easy app that you can download in any app store on your phone. But you're going to want to be hanging out on Kick and getting those emails that say, I'm going live, because you never fucking know. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to be hanging out randomly, maybe even this week before the live stream on Saturday. Again, the regular shows that are happening here on the YouTube side are still just regular. They're still going to be hanging and banging, baby. But on Kick, I'm telling you, you never know when I might pop on there and watch who knows what the fuck, all right? Or just come on in there and chill for a minute. You don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to get a wild hair and be like, I'm going on Kick right now. I'm going to talk some shit. You don't know. I don't know. I'm not saying that's going to happen either. I don't know. I'm just leaving it out there, folks. Make sure you're following. But again, you're going to want to be for real following this Saturday night, 10/21, okay? 10 p.m. Eastern Time into 7 a.m. Eastern Time into October the 22nd. All night long horror movie marathon with me and for a little while Dan. He's going to be there for a minute or two. Let's see how long he lasts. I'm going to be putting the pressure on, baby. How long can you last? Huh? I'm going to be putting the pressure on to see how long Dan can last as well.
How many times have I read of recurrent intense sexual urges and sexually arousing fantasies that markedly distress someone who acts on them? How would you like, at the age of 15, to wake up and start thinking, I'm having fantasies about making love to dead bodies? What kind of person would ever wish that on any human being? And who do you tell it to? Do you tell it to your mother? Do you tell it to your father? Who do you tell it to? Your best friend? I want to talk, if I can, about us.
Yeah, let me get Jay's Kick up here too. Hold on. Jay just hit 203 followers on there. Hell yeah.
Everything is pretty predictable.
Oh, there's Jay's.
If you're an artist in your background, you might be an artist. If you're big into music, if somebody in your background was big, if your parents or grandparents were great athletes, you might be a great athlete. So at the moment of conception, we become something. And then we look at the person as they go along, and choices.
There he is, Keystone. Morning, man.
Some people go into drink, some people go into cocaine, some people go and become professionals, some become doctors, some become teachers, some become movie stars. We all become something. And we look at our lives and we say, what do we look like out there? Put the tentacles out, and what are we? So in order to show you what happened to him, not at the moment of conception, but what he evolved to be, I have tried, in order to keep this thing to some kind of a logical explanation, drawn up the Jeffrey Dahmer human being. And this is what I see about this Jeffrey Dahmer as a total...
Boyle could do with a little Canva action, if you ask me. Dear God. Did he freehand this? And I'm sure one of his assistants did this, but... Wow, man. Imagine what we can do today with cool graphs and stuff through, like, apps, but... I'm going to need you to make me a graph. Say no more. Jeffrey Dahmer is the son.
Total human being. A person who's into fantasy, drugging, keeping skulls and lockers.
Damn, let's get a close-up of this thing. Damn, that's a lot of stuff. Fantasy, drugging, skull and locker, cannibalism, sexual urges, drilling, zombies, necrophilia, not sure, paraphilia, roadkill, something rocking, obsession, murder, lobotomies, defleshing, the word defleshing in itself. I'm not sure what the one is into. Viscera. Mannequin. Graveyard. Calling taxidermist. Funeral home. Yellow contacts. Yeah, the yellow contacts is weird. Acid. I'm not sure what the one above acid is.
Cannibalism, sexual
he's going to
urges,
name them off too, baby.
Zombies, necrophilia,
let's go.
Disorders, paraphilia, watching videos, getting excited about eggshells, drinking alcohol all the time, into a dysfunctional family, trying to create a shrine, showering with corpses, going into the occult, having delusions, chanting,
showering with corpses,
picking up roadkill, having obsessions, murders, lobotomies, deflecting, masturbating 3-4 times a day, 2-3 times a day as a youngster, going and trying to get a mannequin home so he can play sex with a mannequin, masturbating into the open parts of the human being's body, calling taxidermists, going to graveyards, going to funeral homes, wearing yellow contacts, posing people who are dead that he killed for pictures, masturbating all over the place. This is Jeffrey Dahmer. My little star.
Masturbating all over the place. Jesus.
My little circle.
We'll be right back.
Lawyer, father, sports, happy. I have only positives. There isn't a positive thing on this. This is a young man who never had a relationship with another male on a friendly basis for a day's time.
Oh, God. Charlotte with the comment of the day. Holy fuck.
This is a boy who at the age of 15 or 16 found himself sick. And if it's so simplistic that too bad, so bad, he could have done something about it, it's his own fault, so anything that happened after that is his own fault, then we're not talking about justice. Then we're talking about a lot of other things. We're talking about just neglecting the realities of life. But if we look at a guy who's sick and say just how bad was that sickness.
I have seen Man Bikes Dog, Patricia. That's a great film. That's a French film. It's a really weird movie. Anybody who doesn't know me should know that I love I'm a big film fan. Like, and when I say I'm a big film fan, I like really fucking weird films. I have 2 hard drives, terabytes worth of B garbage films. And I'm not saying Man Bikes Dog falls into that, but it does definitely fall into the late night. Like Man Bite Dog is a really original type film too. It's a film crew that follows around the serial killer. Man Bites Dog is a really interesting film, Patricia.
Then we're doing justice to the question.
Anybody that looks that up, first of all, trigger warnings. That movie's not for everyone. That's a great film.
Whatever the result of the question is. So in order to give you, hopefully, some idea of just how bad this sickness was, the 2 charts that I showed yesterday, where I have put down the names of the unfortunate victims of this steamrolling killing machine.
Oh yeah, it's an Audition too.
Start basically with Mr. Hicks in 1978 at 18 years of age. Who would have predicted that this man would have killed a human being, kept his body?
This is what I was talking about earlier, right? How early his first killed in 78, and then he a long ass period of time before the next.
Kept his skull, opened up his body, and
oh, they hit hard. They hit just right, Jay, bro.
Kept it there for 2 years.
I do. Like, I could name a lot of French films. There's some French films are fucked up though, dude, man.
Turn then to
horror
take it
French
out,
films.
to smash it up and to give it. Who would have predicted it? Who could have predicted that at the young age that he was when he started into this fantasy business, that would have happened when he was 18? No one. And from 1978 through 1987, this paraphilic,
sadly, yes,
Jeffrey
I am not
Dahmer,
T-Pain,
didn't kill again. He drank alcohol. I don't know how you wouldn't have to, having done.
J. Wouldn't that be just a dope ass chant with an arena full of people? J.
what you did to Mr. Hicks, how you wouldn't have something that you had to do.
This one's actually pretty fire, right? Like, this one's pretty good. Like, this one was done professionally. This one looks like a Canva piece.
Oh, it didn't
Canva the app.
surprise me that he became alcoholic. I don't know how you could get up every day and think about that for 9 years, having killed a human being. I don't know if you've ever dreamt about hurting anybody. I've had those dreams. And I wake up in the morning and the first thing I do is I thank my God that it was only a dream. Because the depression connected with that dream is so severe that it's dysfunctional until you realize, oh, thank God, that was just a dream. This wasn't a dream. This wasn't a dream. This was a sick boy right here. Plenty sick. And anybody who says just mean or evil is trying to sell you something that can't be sold. This is sick. We get him back in 1987, and what's he trying to do? But like what many of us do, we make the mistake of trying to heal ourselves. I'm going to get into religion. Can you believe that all of a sudden somebody's going to get into religion that never was brought up in religion? It didn't work. He was living with his grandmother. He was desolately lonely. He was all
Happy Halloween, folks!
alone in the world. And he was trying, because that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to try, and he failed. You know, I don't know why I always go back to alcoholism and anorexia and bulimia and things of that nature, because it's the only thing that I can even relate to. I've never met anybody who told me that I have these real fantasies about doing this to somebody. I'd walk away from a person that said that. So I don't know how this paraphiliac business works, and that's why I had the likes of Dr. Berlin and Dr. Becker to give you an idea. Because none of us can possibly have gotten anywhere near to the fantasy level that this kid was at when he was 14 or 15 years of age. In my lifetime, I can't even envision allowing my mind to get to the point where I would think about having sex with a dead person, an unconscious person. And he's got that at 14 and 15, and he's masturbating 2 or 3 times a day, and Dr. Dietz says that's normal behavior, and I submit to you it isn't. I submit to you that, you see, if you're an alcoholic and you drink too much, you're going to die. That's what's going to happen to you. You're going to drink yourself into the grave. If you're taking narcotics too much, you're going to have an overdose and you're going to die. If you become bulimic or anorexic and you continue, you're going to die. But when your mind is in the gutter, it stays in the gutter, and it never gets out of the gutter until something changes it. It's an insatiable appetite. Filth is an insatiable appetite. There's no end to it. And that's the living proof right there. There's no end to it until you destroy everything that is right in life. You destroy yourself, you destroy other people. That's what happened here. An insatiable appetite. He had to do what he did because he couldn't stop it. This isn't a matter of choice. Not when this pattern's here for these years. So in order to get away from it, he started doing all these great things that made a lot of sense, right? Video stores, peep shows. I'm going to stop it. I'm going to get some sex. I'm going to stop this fantasy. This recurrent urge that is markedly distressing me of having sex with dead people. I'm going to stop it because what I'm going to do is start hanging around gay clubs. It wasn't working. And each and every time he progressed to be worse and worse and worse. Okay, I'm going to go get a mannequin. That's going to end it. That didn't work. That's foolish. Okay, I'm going to get a grave. I'm going to go to find somebody I really want, and I'm going to get them so I don't end up hitting anybody.
Yeah, actually, I mean, I found some stuff that I do agree with that side. Also, I mean, like, this is a very complex one. Like, it's not just black and white. Like,
I'm going to bring a body home to my house, and that'll be
I don't know what
the
the
end
fuck
of
you
the
do with this guy.
problem. It didn't work. Can you imagine what it would be like to even think
Oh, that's a good
about
one.
doing something like that.
Love the Evil
And
Deads.
what that would do to your
An Army
mind.
of Darkness.
So now what we have...
Who the
is we
fuck's
have
calling in
Jeffrey
here right now?
Dahmer
Did you hear her answer
in
that phone back there?
1987, who's been going around really doing some great things to help him out of this problem. Like drugging people will help me get out of this. I can do my thing to them and it'll be fine and that'll be the end of it. And it didn't work. Now, do we say, well, tough luck, Dahmer. You were doing it, it didn't work.
Jennifer S. Good morning. Almost afternoon. Welcome in here.
That's all been taken care of. He pled guilty to all that. Question is now, what was his head like? You know, I see every once in a while, I go to the malls. You usually see them at the malls or at the Brewer games. These poor people who are in wheelchairs, total paraplegics, quadriplegics, youngsters. And I don't care how tough you are, I don't care how hard your heart is, you have sympathy. You have sympathy because you know their life is hell. Every function they do, somebody's got to do for them. And the caring, loving people that help those people are saints. People who pick them up and help them go to the bathroom. People who pick them up and put them to bed at night. People who clean them and bathe them are saints because those people are helpless. I would rather be that for life than Dahmer with these thoughts for one day. Because there isn't anybody to help Dahmer until there is some tragedy. And the tragedy was when he was arrested. It ended. All his self-help was for naught. And it's so easy for us to say, too bad, so bad. But then we have to say, is that what we agreed to do? Just say, too bad, so bad? Or do we have to say, let's find out, Boyle, if you proved it to us?
You are forgiven.
Suggest to you
No, thanks for coming in, Jennifer. Appreciate it.
What I have done was to make up a little chart of the doctors.
Yeah, this is interesting, Jim.
We had the following people tell us. The police, Berlin, Becker, Wallstrom, Palermo, Friedman, Fosdale, and Dietz. That's who we've had here. We've had Tracy Edwards. We've had some co-workers. We had some other police here to talk about what they thought about his mental condition. But basically, this is what it boils down to. Tracy Edwards, in my opinion, is very important, and I'm going to get to him. But here you got police sticking with this guy for 60 hours. So when we start talking about how much time you spent, big deal. That's not important to me. What's important to me is the projection that these people have in common or opposed to each other relative to the time that they spent. The police spent 60 hours with them. Most cooperative. Gave us stuff that we would never have known about. Answered all of our questions. Gentle, cordial. Totally cooperative. Talked without his lawyer being there. Don't want his lawyer here. I want to talk. I want to help identify these people. Solving unsolvable crimes. How did he act to you? Did he look like he was delusional?
Those emojis on Kick are dope. I got some more on there too. I got a Keanu. I got to get a Keanu over here.
Because he wasn't acting on his paraphilia when he was talking to them. He wasn't that way with any of these people. The reason these people are in here is to help you. And then what do we find? Berlin. Necrophilia, paraphilia, not otherwise specified. Mental disease, mental illness. Becker. Necrophilia, not otherwise specified. Paraphilia, mentally ill. Wallstrom. Necrophilia, paraphilia, not otherwise specified. And psychosis.
Yes,
Palermo.
Jennifer
Nothing wrong
knows.
with him. Nothing. Knew that in 3-4 hours, he says. Friedman, mentally diseased, had an impairment of the mind. his analysis of his personality disorders and the totality of what he said was he was under Wisconsin law mentally diseased.
Yes. Yes.
Dr. Fosdell, paraphilia, not otherwise specified, mental disease. Dr. Dietz, I still don't know. The man was so impressive that I wanted to pitch my tent and go home until I started finding out, cross-examination, that I think he said that he doesn't know whether he was mentally diseased. The jury is the one who's supposed to answer that, and I agree with that. But I was getting the idea what he was saying was, if it's only a paraphilia, forget it. No mental disease, never happened. Nobody can ever convince me of that. I've held true to that since 1985. My colleagues have tried to concoct kind of stories to convince me differently. No way, Jose. If it's paraphilia, he's not mentally diseased. Doctor, was he suffering from an impairment of the mind that affected his emotional? Well, alcohol might have contributed. I don't know what he said, but I don't care. Because if these are the two best forensic psychologists and psychiatrists in the world, then who's right? Because I've got mental disease, mental disease, mental disease, mental disease, mental disease. Now, you are going to be told that you make the decision on who you want to give the weight to and what experts. In voir dire, I asked you a question. If you were on trial, would you want you making the call about you? You consider yourself to be so fair and objective that you as a model person is the kind of person that you would want judging you. And y'all said yes. And I agreed with that. Because I know one thing, other than the fact of my advocacy, I would really like a guy like me making judgments about me, because I would be able to say, I'm right sometimes, I'm wrong sometimes. And when I'm wrong, I know I'm wrong, and when I'm right, I think I'm right. And sometimes I absolutely know I'm right. But when we get people who tell us absolutely no way in the world can a paraphilia standing alone be mentally diseased, and I haven't treated one in many, many, many years, I have to say, I think this guy's got a mindset.
Yeah, the charts are good.
I would agree with him, because it doesn't seem to me like he was ever going to come up with anything other than his mindset. Since 1985, he's been saying, no way a paraphilia can ever be mentally diseased, mentally ill. And even my colleagues, and this is all on the record, I read it to them, have tried to convince me otherwise, but they haven't been successful. And still, to his great credit, very professional witness, told a remarkable, not story, he was remarkable in his way. He was able to tell us every single thing that was said between the parties. Well, I didn't ask, I don't think reporting that is really the crucial issue here. I think it's the substance of what someone says. And I'm not going to knock Dr. Dietz, because I think the man's a star. Testified in the John Hinckley case for the government. I don't know what that means, but he did. What it means is that the man works to be a forensic psychiatrist. That's his life, just like mine appears to be a criminal lawyer. That doesn't make me one dog whit smarter than anyone else.
I heard that too, Meg Z. Yeah, okay. I didn't know if that was maybe just me. It was almost like a whistling, but it was like kind of auto, I don't know. It was like almost like robotic. It was fucking weird.
It's the substance that counts, not the form. It doesn't matter whether he was paid $39,000 or $250.
See that? Jesus, it does. It looks like ball sacks on the bottom.
But I will tell you that the man is a person who testifies for law enforcement and the people and the state. That's what he does. Everything about him is, I'm on the opposite side. Now, he can tell me once in a while he comes on the defense side, But I asked him, doctor, if I thought that my client had a paraphilia, would I call you? I'd be wasting my time because of his mindset. Dr. Fosdale did a very thorough examination, but he was convinced that Jeffrey Dahmer was not a true necrophiliac, so he was asking him to diagnose himself. And what he concluded was that whatever he was when he was doing what he was doing, he was mentally ill. He was suffering from a mental disease, but he could still stop. And I say to you, thank you, doctor, because you're giving us something that we didn't necessarily have to have from you. His candor about that, in my opinion, raised him to a very, very high level. Because I knew coming in here 3 weeks ago, I wasn't going to change one person's opinion. They weren't going to change my people's. I wasn't going to change the court. I wasn't going to change their people. It just was a given. So what we did in the exercise of what we did is to ask you how much you want to rely upon whom, knowing that I have the burden of proof. They don't have to prove anything or disprove anything. And I accepted that. But Dr. Fosdale said, mentally diseased. So, jury, in effect, concentrate, if you believe me, on the question of conformity, and I think he can conform. And what conformity means is, as I view it, you know, we get these words, substantial capacity to conform your conduct to the requirements of law. These are nice words, but they're tough to understand. I think the question is, without more, could he have stopped? One day he wakes up and said, boy, that's it, I've stopped. The alcoholic who wakes up and says, I'm an alcoholic, I've had my last drink. The young girl suffering from those insidious sicknesses of bulimia get up in the morning and say, that's it, it's all over with, I'm going to get well now. That wasn't going to happen here. His willpower was gone.
You were talking about earlier how the 90s styles are
my definition,
basically back.
That he was so impaired as he went along this killing spree that he could not stop. He was a runaway train on a track of madness, picking up steam all the time, on and on and on, and it was only going to stop when he hit a concrete barrier or he hit another train. And he hit it, thanks be to God, when Tracy Edwards got the hell out of that room. Thanks be to God that this madness stopped. So, I want to award these people here by saying, in my humble opinion, they were all great. All of them. Whether he spent 4 hours or 2 hours or 50 hours or 1,000 hours, these people came in here armed with sufficient information to help you make the decision you've got to make. And my hat's off to all of them, whether they agreed with me or disagreed with me. Dr. Palermo, who came in here, was so candid, you wanted to embrace him. I knew in 3 hours there was nothing wrong with him. But Dr. Berlin says, I knew in 3 hours I had Mr. Sicky on my hands.
Mr. Sicky.
What's the distinction in kind? They're in here to render their opinions. Because a doctor comes and sits down, whether he's being...
Bull has a little bit of almost like a baby face. Like it's almost like a baby stuck inside of an old man.
Sorry.
That's what I'm seeing.
Straight faces and spends 5 hours or 150 hours. Is that what we're supposed to do? You know, what's the function of a lawyer in a courtroom? Try and fool jury?
Every once in a while, you can see there's like a little boy in there, trapped inside this old man. And this old defense attorney.
Ladies and gentlemen, jury, my doctors were the greatest because they spent 600 hours. Doesn't mean a thing. And I wouldn't do that. And I'm not suggesting they did that. I'm just suggesting that argument makes no sense to me at all. Because I want to tell you something. In my opinion, if I have a son and he's starting to show what this guy was showing at 15 and 16, and I send him to a doctor and the doctor calls me up on the phone and says, his 2 or 3 times a day masturbation, that's in the normal range. His thinking about making love with this thing,
right?
It's not something that you have to be
Thank
concerned
you.
about. He'll outgrow that. It'll stop. I'm getting a different doctor.
He's in there.
This kid was plenty sick. And Dr. Becker said, at that stage in her life, his life, when he started opening up dead dogs that he found on the highway, bringing them home and opening them up and looking at them, if that had come to me, he would have been in a hospital. Oh, what's they going to send him in a hospital for? He's sick. What's the matter with somebody that would do that? I mean, you know what? We when we're driving our cars, are so turned off by the sight of a dead animal on the highway that we move our car around so we don't get anywhere near it. Even our car, we don't want to touch something like that. He's bringing it home. This isn't a sick kid, is it? And where is he going to get the help? Now, the reason I emphasize that is because my belief is that the appetite, the wanting of something, so continues and over a period of time that whatever you try to do, it may not work. Now I have to go back to this silly analogy of alcohol because I don't know how else to explain it. I'm only going to drink, honey, on weekends. I'll only drink when we go on vacations, and I'll never drink during the day. Well, I'm not an alcoholic. I don't drink in the morning. I don't take a drink at noon. All of us have seen or been touched by or have witnessed that. And there's a person who's talking about their problem to somebody. Who's he going to talk to about his problem? So you know what happened? He threw in the towel. He just became helpless in his own mind. I'm no good. I'm rotten. I'm evil. And all of that being put together, I still want to fulfill these desires, and I'm going to go do it. And I submit to you that at some juncture along this killing spree, I proved, again an I, but not an I, to a reasonable certainty, if not absolute certainty, at some juncture, not perhaps on the early one, but at some juncture, one would have to be blinded not to accept the fact that he was so out of control that he couldn't conform his conduct any longer to the requirements of law at some juncture. And I think what I have to do, if in the interest of being straightforward, is to tell you that in my opinion, that started showing itself not right after Toomey, when Mr. Dockstetter started getting sicker with Mr. Guerrero. But when we get to Mr. Sears, we got ourselves a very, very sick, uncontrollable young man. Now, I have listed their names here and when they have died. And this is like, hopefully, an understanding that these young men died because of a crazy man, not an evil man. But in order to hopefully show you my belief as to when this sickness started getting so bad, I would like to have shown you this little chart I made.
More charts.
Everything seemed not so abnormal until at 15 or 16. He was just a kid. His mother put the head to his heart. He has a little brother. There was nobody in the home. It wasn't a lot of fun. I tell you, I grew up with 6 in my family. There was a ball. It was World War III every day, but there was a ball. We played together. We fought together. We had a lot of fun together. This guy had nobody from birth, except as told to you by the doctors One would have to say, on balance, was he an active youngster, a semi-active youngster, an inactive youngster, a lonely youngster, a desolately lonely youngster? You make your own choices. I don't think his childhood was something that we would have prayed, any of us, for ourselves or for anyone we're raising. But nothing so far out of line. Did some things with tadpoles, did some things with fishes, started showing a little bit of an interest, but now he starts in the fantasies. This is when we've got ourselves in harm's way with the head of Jeffrey Dahmer. This is when his mind is really starting to go. He starts masturbating, fantasizing, thinking, planning. Can you imagine? Can you imagine at 17 years of age? Put yourself in the head of a 17-year-old boy saying, I see this jogger running down the street or the highway and I want to go up and hit him on the head and drag him in and have sex with him. Can you imagine having that desire and that thought? How sad and how sick. He killed at 18. He kills at 18, and then he desecrates this body by ejaculating. Now, what would have told anyone that this kid, up to this age, would have ever done anything like that? He's starting to get sick. And what he does then, from 18 to 27, he tries it his own way. And it doesn't stop the paraphilia. The fantasy is there, and it's growing by leaps and bounds. And he kills at the Ambassador Hotel, and he doesn't even know that he killed somebody until he wakes up and sees them. Think about that. Think about the reality of having that done by you. So he starts saying, what am I going to do? And he makes plans. See, what I keep on hearing is if you make plans or if you think, ergo you're not mentally diseased. Well, that's nonsense. There isn't a person in the world that can say that rids oneself of the question of whether someone is mentally diseased. The anorexic, the bulimic, the alcoholic who's got alcohol dependency so bad that he's able to go to work is not really diseased. Of course they're diseased, but they're thinking, they're planning. They're trying to correct the problem. So he takes the young man home to his grandmother's, and we know what he did. And he kept the skull. This is sick. And then he kills twice more at his grandmother's. And then he gets caught. He does something and he gets caught with that youngster, SS. He doesn't kill him. Told the police he wasn't planning on killing him. Everything he did with SS indicated that although bad, he wasn't about to kill. But that doesn't really matter because his sickness is well in place. Here's when he starts really getting out of line. Here's when he starts really getting nutsy. Here's when he starts really losing it. As he is waiting to go to wherever,
watch the judge.
He kills again.
Liable to pass out at any moment.
Saves a head and takes it to his place of work. Because when he's in the house of correction, where he can't do his killings any longer because he doesn't have a safe place, he's still got the remembrance of this paraphilic disorder. The skull of a human being in a locker. Can you believe that?
That's crazy.
Can you believe that any human being in the world would say that a guy who did that isn't mentally impaired? He's just evil. No. That's a mental impairment, whether we like it or not. So now he gets out of this prison jail situation that he's in, and he starts up again. And as you see, hopefully, as I go through this as quickly as I can, you're going to see how he starts doing different things. Now he wants to be a part of the Jedi. And he starts thinking about his temple that's going to give him this power. So he's going to start collecting things to help him with this table of altar, this shrine that's going to give him this power.
Oh, excuse me, Caroline.
And he starts now taking pictures and keeping skeletons of his victims. And then now he starts taking pictures and keeping frozen body parts. And now he starts eating the body parts. Why is he doing that? If he's just evil, you think that all he wanted was to kill. He's starting to experiment more and more because his paraphilia is getting greater and greater. And then he starts going down and he starts taking pictures, but now he's into the viscera.
Jeez.
Now that's not enough. He's got to have more. Well, people say, come on. Stop it, Jeff. Don't do that anymore. Okay, I won't. I've got it now. I've got it under control. This was totally depraved. This is what knew that he was so bad. You know, this is when I knew I really had a mental illness. He never used the word mental illness. 60 hours talking to the police. Never developed a hallucination. Never developed a delusion. Never said I was really sick. I mean, my mind was gone on me. You know what he said? Now I was totally evil, totally depraved, totally out of control. He didn't even know that he was mentally ill. He just thought he was bad. He didn't invent an hallucination. The devil made me do it. These people forced me to do it. He said, I have no one to blame but myself. I had total depravity, only wanted my own selfish gratification. It was a lot more than that. He was nuts. Now he starts doing the formaldehyde. He wants to keep the hands, the genitals. He's into Exorcist 3, and now he says, you know what I am? I'm Satan.
All right.
I'm Satan.
I understand that he, had a factuation with Exorcist 3, but maybe we shouldn't throw it in there with formaldehyde and putting hands and genitals and skulls in it, and then you ended with Satan. Okay, let's calm it down a little bit. He's definitely going to turn it into the filth of the world, is turning Dahmer. And he already has.
Forced me to do it. I'm Satan.
Filth is a disease of the mind.
Now he starts homemade lobotomy.
All forms of filth are bad.
Skin. What about that, doctor? Homemade lobotomy. Well, it could work. It could have worked. Yeah. I mean, if I said to you, and I want to make this sure that I'm not making light of any of this. If I told you that I have a pet at home that's out in the farmyard, and I really want to bring it in, but I got to make sure it doesn't make noise.
Judge is going out.
So
Pay attention.
Bring it in and do a little work on its head to try and see if I can't pierce the head and knock out the noise that the animal makes, whether it be baba or an oink or whatever, because I want it to be more like a dog, and I want it in a house. You got to say, God, get that guy some help, for Christ's sake. Something's wrong with him. This man's a nut. He's a fruitcake. Doctors say, well, he wanted a sex slave. Zombie 1 would have been dead the minute he saw Zombie 2. Because his paraphilia was in such control of him. Forget about the conformity right now. His paraphilia was in such control of him that he could not just leave it as it was. He had to have more and more and more. Here we have number 10. And I'm not calling these number 10s because I'm showing any disrespect for these folks as persons. I've listed all of their names. I pray for their souls. So don't let anybody misunderstand when I say that. I'm showing a progression of what's happening in a series of chronologies, not depersonalizing these poor folks by calling them numbers. Number 10 victim, he left laying in a bed for 2 days in a small apartment. How about that, doctor? Well, it was catching up on him now. He was too tired. He couldn't get rid of the bodies. I don't agree with that. So I asked the doctors about cataract symptomism. And I said, how about that one, doctor? Dietz. And he says, I think that showed guts. Just a lot of guts. Well, let me tell you what bothers me about that. You know, I don't think Dr. Dietz can be the star of the North on this one. If he had guts, and he had his brain power intact, and he was able to conform, and he knew everything that was going on about him, how many body parts would have been in that apartment the next day? How many skulls would have been left? How about the barrel with skeletons in them, and the freezers, and the refrigerator? A guy with guts would have cleaned that stuff out immediately so that if they did come back, he'd say, you know, he must have wandered out like he did the night before when I was sleeping. I don't know where he is. Come, look around my apartment. It's clean as a whistle. There's nothing here. That's what a guy with guts in mind would have done. But not the paraphilic who can't conform his conduct to the requirements of law because he couldn't let him go, in spite of the fact that he had a cop at his elbow. And he went on and killed 4 more times. This wasn't a guy displaying guts. This was a crazy man who couldn't stop until he was stopped. He started saving skeletons in freezers. 3 Milwaukee policemen are in his apartment. Firefighters see him. Naked boy on the street. Citizens viewing him. An Asian boy, a minority of minorities. Dr. Dietz says he could conform his conduct to the requirements of law. It just showed he had a lot of guts. He knew how to control his environment. It's not true. I submit to you.
Yeah, it's hard to stop watching the judge after you kind of get on him for a second.
He's so out of control that there's no way he can conform his conduct to requirements of law. Before the early parts, I can't stand before you and say I proved it absolutely. I am not certain if I proved it to a certainty by the greater weight. But I submit to you, when he's on his way to jail and he kills that poor Anthony Sears so that he can have his head in a locker while he's at work, he's out of control. Not somebody who's just fulfilling their own selfish desires that can quit anytime they want. It's a hell of a thing to have to ask you to even think about. In your wildest dreams, you couldn't write this script. It wouldn't be possible. It would be so unbelievable. And whoever read it would say, well, at all times he could have stopped. He could have conformed. The person would say, well, I don't think so. There was a time when this guy let go to the point where he just lost it. And they say alcohol. It's bad. You know, there's an awful lot of people in this world that have alcohol problems, and we don't see that kind of happening. I think it's clear to me that when a doctor tells you that he's an alcoholic, it's clear that he's an alcoholic. But his alcoholism, or his use of alcohol, isn't causing him to kill these people. His paraphilia is causing him to kill these people. His alcohol lowers his inhibitions. I asked the doctor about what Dr. Resnick, the nationally known person, says. Alcohol is used to kill. What difference does it make, doctor, that he drank? Would they not have occurred had he not ever had a drink of alcohol? Not one doctor has said they wouldn't have happened if he didn't have alcohol. And if they did, I think we'd all laugh him out of the courtroom. These weren't alcoholic killings. These are the killings of an insane human being who couldn't stop killing because of a sickness that he discovered, not chose, discovered when he was 15, and it never, ever stopped growing. And the little futile attempts to make it stop growing by Jeffrey Dahmer just didn't cut it. He is taking showers with 2 dead bodies in the bed that have been in there with bleach and disinfectant. He could have said, gee, this is too much now. I'm getting tired of doing this. This is too much work. I got to find a, I'm going to go back to just going to the bathhouses again and doing my pill drugging thing. Would have been nice. Wasn't in the cards. Tracy Edwards would have been dead. Thanks be to God, he isn't. And you know, when I saw the locks in the door, when they showed me what they looked like from the inside, I might have said when Geraldo or Donahue asked me, I don't know, I saw a couple hundred locks as far as I'm concerned. What difference does that make? You heard the testimony. I told them how long did I talk to you? 15 minutes. When's the first time we met the night before? Oh, I'm going to fool this jury. I'm going to have this Tracy Edwards start saying rocking and chanting like he did on Donahue and Rivera. That's going to sell the program. Nonsense. What do you think was going on in that apartment for those 4 hours when Dahmer was in there and he got that Tracy Edwards up there? He was getting ready to kill him. And the only reason, in my opinion, that Tracy Edwards is not dead is because Tracy Edwards is very bright. He knew how to jive sufficiently to keep this guy from making the final move and the fatal move. And it was only after a period of time that he saw his escape route and got out of there. And he runs down and he tells the police, there's a crazy guy up there. This guy's in and out of a trance, he tells us. He's watching Exorcist 3, rocking back and forth and mumbling and chanting. Well, what would you expect a guy like Dahmer to be doing while he's getting ready to kill a human being and keep their skull and deflesh him and cut him up? And I asked Dr. Palermo that, and he said, well, it's like he's going to work. I mean, that's just so silly. This is a sick guy. And thanks be to God there's a Tracy Edwards around to at least help you make your decision. But don't be fooled because he went on Geraldo and Donahue, who were cross-examining him. You know, I always heard impeachment. Lawyer X asked, and didn't you say this and didn't you say that?
Getting enough sleep last night.
I gotta contend with how Geraldo
per usual.
and Donahue asked their questions in front of
television. Mandy's sneaking back in.
Full of people, some poor young kid that was going to get $50 for posing and wasn't too sure he wanted to do that. How many locks did you see? A lot of locks. I saw about 8 or 9 locks he had. Well, he did have a pretty good security system. That's a fact. And of course, the people across the way did too, because they had 3 locks on their door, as you can see in the pictures it was showing to you. So I don't see what we really got down to with poor Tracy Edwards, trying to say, you know, you're making this up because what? You want to be a star or something? Nonsense. This guy was getting ready to kill him. He was going to be victim number 16, number 19. And I am not Tracy Edwards' protector, but thanks be to God, Tracy Edwards is a human being and existed in this world. Because if he wasn't, what we would end up doing is having all of these other people killed. Because this thing was never going to stop, ever. The doctors would say at all times he was able to conform his conduct. Well, I submit to you that he wasn't able to conform his conduct. As far as the content of the statement of all of these people is concerned, as far as I'm concerned, they're all equal. Some got a couple of more things than others. Some went into further detail than others. But what they got was that they gave the police for 60 hours. He didn't invent things after that. They say, well, he invented this temple concept. No, the police just didn't get into the temple concept. He didn't invent that. If he's smart enough to start inventing, he's going to start inventing hearing noises and hallucinations and delusions. He never said I was having a delusion. Eating body parts, the doctor says, is, well, there's, you know, some people believe that it's part of the protein, so you are what you eat. He believed that this way he keeps them with him when he eats their body parts. That's not bad thinking, huh? That's not the thinking of a crazy man. I'm going to create a sex slave. No, that's okay, because frankly, he might be able to do that. That's crazy thinking. Chanting, rocking, having an altar where you're going to lay out the 10 skulls of 10 human beings you killed, to sit in a chair and to draw power from it in order to become successful in life, and maybe like in the real estate business, is crazy thinking. So I submit
Tiger
to you,
Lilies.
You may not agree
Is that a movie?
Proved conformity, but I proved insanity. Now I got to ask you about the conformity.
The band? I see a band named Tiger Lilies. I have not.
Conformity
Should I check them out?
in my opinion, lawyers got to say that in my opinion all the time. It's part of the rules. The conformity part is a very tricky concept. Back to alcoholism. I don't know how else to do it. I wish I could do it some other way. Person takes his first drink when he's in high school, prom, gets drunk, goes to college, fraternity parties, goes in the Army. A lot of drinking in the Army. A lot of drinking in the Army. It's a man's kind of thing. After sporting, like, oh,
you drink in the Army.
Milwaukee County Stadium and watch a Packer game or baseball game. All of a sudden, all these nice people who just are great all week long suddenly become what they call a two-fisted slobber and get everybody annoyed at them. These aren't bad people. These are people who just drank too much. But some people are on the road to alcoholism. They're going to become alcoholic. Now, every time they start taking a drink doesn't mean they're alcoholic, because they progress into a state of heavy drinking. They're not alcoholic. They're probably not going to be too happy if they say, hey, I'm finished, that's it. Well, no more hangovers for me, I'm done with them. They got control, they can stop. But when they cross that line, they're sick. And they may quit. I don't care if 8 out of 10 quit. I don't care if 9 out of 10 quit. I don't care if 99 out of 100 quit. There is that one that can't quit. It's too late. It's gone. So in his alcoholism, a person is progressing in it, and we all had somebody in our lives.
Okay, I will.
Who is like
I'll see that song right here in front of me, so I will check that out.
Had that one drink too many, and it's all over.
Allergies are trying to act up on me. Can already feel it.
To the Anthony Sears time, as he's going to jail to keep that thing in his locker, and as he starts going up taking these bodies like he was past the time of self-help. It's all over. His sickness was so bad at that juncture that he couldn't have conformed his requirements to law. Now, I guess one of the ways I can ask the question, if you really believe that at any given time along this track of disaster, he could have said, that's it, I'm finished I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going back to my old ways. I'm going back to the peep shows. I'm going to just go back to the bathhouses. If you believe that, then you can say he could conform. But if you believe that at any time up this track he got to the point where he was out of control, it was all done with, then you must say, my opinion again, that he couldn't conform his conduct to the requirements of the law. Because the law told him you can't do any of that. Any of it. And we're talking about the killings, and that's why I asked Dr. Dietz. At the moment of the killing,
I'm not supposed to put a link tree in there. What
was
the
he
fuck?
suffering from whatever he was suffering from? Yes, he said. So therefore, the killings, whatever the ultimate purpose, creating zombies that might live, might not live, saving body parts, eating body parts,
Chat's being
having
stupid,
sex
guys.
before,
You're
after,
seeing
etc.
issues.
Doesn't matter. At the moment of the killings, was he out of control? No, the doctor said. He could have stopped from doing that. He did that. He just did that. See, he wasn't getting any pleasure from that, so therefore he wasn't doing that because of his mental disease. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. That's like saying that the drunk who takes a drink because he can't stand his hangover enjoys or doesn't enjoy the act of drinking. What difference does it make? It's what the act is that we look at, what his sickness was that we look at, and how he went about manifesting that sickness. He was out of control by Sears. Whether it's so out of control that he could never stop after that, I don't know. But I'll tell you, if he was getting up the line with poor Mr. Smith and Mr. Miller, he started creating these zombies with Mr. Lindsay. He got to Mr. Conorak, young Conorak. Goodbye. And if you think I'm right, I think I've recited the law properly. I think I said that I have proved to you to a reasonable certainty by the greater weight of the credible evidence that he was suffering from a mental disease. I think I've said that. I did that with the rookie, Wallstrom, the rookie. What do you know, Dr. Wallstrom? You've never done this before. Well, you know what? None of these people
I'm going to get
have
ramped back up, baby.
in a Jeffrey Dahmer kind of case before. Dr. Fosdale said
Misringing the bell here
he's
for
the only one he's ever heard of.
Boyle and
It's
McKinney.
precedent setting. So what difference if they're used to testifying? It's like saying that the only good trial lawyers are those who have done it 50 times. That's nonsense. It doesn't have anything to do with it. These people who are forensic psychiatrists are trained to tell juries, look at juries and tell them what their opinions are. So I should have gone out, I'm a dumbbell, right? I should have just gone out and got forensic psychiatrists. I went out and got psychiatrists who knows what the heck is wrong with this guy. Isn't that what you wanted to know? Isn't that what my obligation was to you? To tell you, to bring to you somebody who can explain this madness so that the world out there knows they're seeing this? So that there's some people out there that say, good God, there's help for those like him. Because no human being in the face of the earth could do anything worse than what he
Right,
did.
Amber.
Maybe just change the age or the sex of the victims. But the acts, nobody could be more reprehensible.
No, Amber's having a good morning. I saw your post. Damn.
Nobody. The devil would be in a tie.
I'm actually totally guilty of that.
But if he's sick,
I'll just get louder. It's not helping
he's
anything.
sick, then he isn't the devil. And I submit to you that he was so sick. The question that remains is, could he have stopped? Now, substantial capacity, in my opinion, means that he was so impaired or became so impaired that it was all over. He couldn't stop. He couldn't conform. He couldn't say, I'm not going to do it. He was the alcoholic with the shake sitting at the table with the bottle in front of him who takes the drink. It's too late to ask that guy, hey, pal, come on. Don't take that drink. It's all, you got control. He's like the mentally ill alcoholic, whose alcoholism is so bad that everyone in the world knows without question that he's going to take that drink. That's what Dahmer was. I think what time is it? Huh? I said 55 minutes. I'm an hour and 10 minutes.
That's true.
I got a rebuttal. And rebuttal is a thing that lawyers do to say, this is what I don't think the other fella made sense.
Just part of my character.
Mr. McCann
Screaming.
will tell you, absolutely.
I get really excited.
That basically everything I said about the mental disease and the conformity is wrong, and there's no proof of it, and I failed. And I'm not concerned about that, because that's his job to do that, and I believe he believes that. I think he believes that all my doctors were nonsense people, although Dr. Dietz said that he would refer people with paraphilic disorders to Dr. Becker and Dr. Berlin. See, there's no ego in these courtrooms as far as I'm concerned. If anybody in the world thinks that I was going to change Dr. Dietz's opinion about anything, I would really think I'd be smart to be able to change anybody's opinion about anything.
The fuck just popped in here? Oh my God.
It wasn't the test to see who's the smartest, who's the best. It was to explore what they said so that you people can say, you know, I got to rely upon Dietz. Dietz was so much better than the others, and I don't care what they said, I'm not listening to him. Dietz has it all figured out because he spent 18 hours. And what does Berlin know? He only spent 3 or 4 or 6. Well, probably he knew in the same way that I knew that I was dealing with a pretty sick guy in about the first half hour I talked with him. Because I think there's an axiom in law called res ipsa loquitur. It's not in this case. And it's a cute little Latin word. It means the thing speaks for itself. And it's not here. It's not part of the thing that you can... If you're walking down the street and somebody throws something out a window and hits you, and you look up and you say, that person injured me, I got to go up and find out who that is. I'm going to sue that person for throwing that thing out the window. That's a negligence case. Within negligence, there's a thing called res ipsa loquitur. The thing speaks for itself. You don't have to prove the negligence. Walking down the street, a brick comes off the top of the building, hits you on the head. How are you going to prove negligence? My God, the building was built so that the bricks wouldn't fall off and hit people on the head as they're walking down the street. So all you have to do is prove how damaged you were. That's what res ipsa loquitur is. Res ipsa loquitur is he had to be crazy. First thing, this guy who does all of this is crazy. But I'm not a doctor. I never heard the word paraphilia. I never knew that there were human beings in the world that have recurrent intense sexual urges and sexually arousing fantasies that cause them distress and that they act upon them, that go on for a period of 6 months. I've never met anybody like that. And if I had, somebody started talking to me, I'd probably leave them. So I learned, as you were learning, hopefully from the doctors, as to what this fella had. Nobody, not Dr. Berlin, Dr. Becker, Dr. Wallstrom, Dr. Fosdale, or Dr. Dietz are saying he was anything other than
A lot of doctors.
They all agree on that. Dr. Palermo doesn't think he was that. Dr. Friedman said he had personality disorders, but they were serious enough that it was a mental disease. So all the doctors are pretty much in agreement on that. My doctors think he was out of control. The rest of them don't think he was. It isn't 5-4, 6-3. Because if it is going to be a numbers game, then you have to find that he was mentally diseased because the numbers say he was mentally diseased. You're just going to have to say whether or not he was out of control. And I want you to remember one thing. My doctors said that as he was going along this killing spree, it got worse and worse and worse, and his substantial capacity lessened and lessened and lessened until it was non-existent. And that's what I've said. And your choices are going to be whether or not he was insane as to all, sane as to all, insane but able to conform, sane as to some, able to conform as to some, insane as to some, unable to conform as to some. And in rebuttal, I'm going to tell you the effect of that, as I'm allowed to. You know, we all live by rules of the court of law, so there's things I have to say and can't say. But we're going to all use our common sense here today, and we're going to walk out of here with pride in the fact that all of us have done what we took oaths to do. And not be concerned about the world at large, because we can't. You know, I often said I try not to be a hero. I know I'm not a hero, but I try not to be a coward. And I will not run from what I say I have to do. And I know you won't run from what you said you will do. So with that, I'm going to sit down. I think we're going to take a break, and Mr. McCann's going to argue, and I'll have rebuttal. I thank you for your consideration.
We have reached the end of the defense's closing.
And then we'll hear from Mr. McCann.
And it will be 2 weeks, folks, before we will see... Oh, wow, 2 hours. Let's see. So 2 hours there. Oh, yeah, and then we got a rebuttal. I would say we probably at least got another 2, maybe 3 weeks left. So we still got a minute before we can worry about what we're choosing next. We'll get prepared, I promise. So next week it is canceled. Murder Church is canceled because next week, again, I'm going to do a little bit of plugging here at the very end. We're going to wrap it up, let you enjoy your Sunday. Thank you all for being here, first of all. Amazing day, amazing in chat. Everyone that donated, holy fucking shit. What is happening? You guys are amazing. New members, welcome. Follow on Kick. This weekend is going to be special. Exclusively on exclusively on Kick is going to be the Horror Night, the movie marathon, going from 10 p.m. Eastern Time all the way to 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Are you kidding me? It's going to be all night long. Can you hang? Can Dan hang? He's not going to be hanging long, I can already tell you. Can you hang, though, baby? We're going to be going. We're going to be going. Charlotte, already, yes, we know it. Boom. Coming from the future. Thank you, everyone. Seriously. Everyone hanging and banging today. You're amazing. As we come again to the end of this thing. Yeah, the Halloween special is really, this is going to be on Kick. It's going to be this movie marathon, Kimberly. Make sure you're on Kick now. I do also want to plug a video real quick. It's a 25-second video, guys. If you could go and just like watch this and like it, that would help me out immensely. It's a funny clip from the stream on Thursday where we were having a pretty damn good time. Yeah, go give that thing a like, Ski, a share, a watch. Appreciate it. Again, everybody enjoy your Sunday. You will be seeing the last Tuesday's members only show is going to be released this Tuesday. I got to get that edited today, at least somewhat, to where I can release that Tuesday. So prepare for that Tuesday night, 10 p.m. Eastern time. Other than that, Thursday, 10 p.m. Eastern time. Friday, Feral Friday, normal time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. And then Saturday night, we get ready for the movie marathon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it. I will see everyone. You guys are hilarious. Like this thing as you head out the door. Also, please leave some comments. Yeah, love you guys. Thank you all so much. No, you guys are amazing. You guys are the best. You guys are amazing. I'm really doing it. I'm really going to do it. I'm going to send you to Jay's morning stream through the portal.